Matt Gaetz has filed to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. Oh boy, aren't we excited. Apparently Kevin McCarthy cut a backroom deal with Democrats to get this continuing resolution through, and it's an insult to everybody who believes that we should be fixing the problems of the corruption in Congress and not just layering them on. But this is basically what's happening. Matt Gaetz is trying to bring about an end to the omnibus spending bills, where they just put 5,000 pages. We're all spending the money. We're buying it all. Vote yes or don't. He wants to bring on single subject spending. Kevin McCarthy is basically playing games. They're doing what all members of Congress always do, where they basically say, well, we'll keep funding it the way it is, and we'll deal with these things later. In response to Matt Gaetz threatening to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, or to file, they're trying to remove Matt Gaetz. So it's getting pretty wild. And well, we'll see how this one plays out. Donald Trump was in court today for his lawsuit. He called the judge a rogue. And we'll talk about that. Apparently, they've dropped some of the claims against him, but it is going to be fun. We are down here in Miami, so talking about Mar-a-Lago, Trump, and how they're lying about the value of his properties will be a blast. And then, of course, we've got Jamaal Bowman over the weekend. He pulled a fire alarm, and then he called everybody Nazis. Then he said, no, I didn't call them Nazis. You can't call people Nazis. And then someone found a tweet where he called Michael Knowles a Nazi. This is going to be very, very interesting. We got a bunch more stories. Before we get started, my friends, head over to Timcast.com and click Timcast IRL X Miami. That's right. This Friday, we are going to be, well, we're actually already in Miami. We're going to be on stage doing the show live with Patrick Bet-David, James O'Keefe, Matt Gaetz will be there, Luke Rutkowski, of course, me, Ian, and a whole bunch of special guests. Get your tickets now if you would like to attend. And for elite members at Timcast.com, if you're a member, we're going to have a meetup. And I guess you call it supper, not dinner. It's a little early, 3 p.m. We will be meeting up with all of you guys to hang out. It'll be a blast. So click join us at Timcast.com, become a member, and get access to our Discord server to hang out with like-minded individuals, as well as check out our members-only uncensored show, which will be up at about 10 p.m. And we got some spicy stuff to talk about. It's not so family-friendly, but we hope to see you there. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show right now. Take that URL, post it everywhere if you really do like what we do. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, it is an honor. We have Dave Rubin.
Mr. Florida Man.
Mr. Florida Man.
Mr. Florida Man, that's right. Welcome to the free state of Florida, Tim. How do you feel?
It's wet.
It's wet and it's good.
That's what she said.
You look moist and dewy from our humidity and our freedom. It actually brings out the essence of people.
The freedom is palpable.
It's pretty sweet, man. I mean, I get it. It's good in West Virginia. I get it. But come on. It does not get better than this.
I disagree.
What could possibly be better? What could possibly be better than this place?
Oh, man. The mountains.
We don't have mountains here. That is the one thing. The one thing that I do concede on the Florida thing. We're a pretty flat state.
I look out my window. I see mountains. Trees.
Mountains aren't bad.
We got
freedom. We got water.
We got freedom.
We got beaches.
I'll give you the beaches and a little bit more freedom than we have. You know, West Virginia's doing pretty good though. We're fighting the good fight.
No, you guys are doing all right.
Yeah.
I got no problem with West Virginia, but I'm glad to see you here in the free state of Florida.
This is going to be a blast. It's going to be a good week. So thanks for coming, man.
Yeah. It's good.
And the other Florida man is here.
Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. I am the Polish Florida Man, and it is good to be back. The Democrats can't tell the difference between a doorknob and a fire alarm, while the Republicans are tearing each other to shreds. And you love to see it. You know the deal. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing right now with Trump Tupac, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And since last being here, I got fully demonetized, so I launched a new business. That is a vitamin health store on wearechange.shop. I've been able to help a lot of people. Check that out. Ian, you look like you're also on a little personal health journey there. You have a little sparkle in your eyes that you didn't before.
Thanks for noticing,
How are you doing, man?
I feel great, man. I'm
Give us a health update.
I gained about 20 pounds over the process of the last 2 months, 2.5 months or something, muscle and fat. I feel great. I smell different. I stopped wearing deodorant.
There you go.
I'm
That's
searching
the way
for
to
a
do
new
it.
kind of deodorant.
Muscle and fat as opposed to what? Water?
What else is there? Water.
Bones and skin.
Yeah, bones. Bones got a lot.
It's crazy. My bones are
good.
huge.
Yeah,
you gain.
That's good.
You gain
Give us
water
a flex.
weight's nuts.
You
Water.
look great. You look.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Your transformation is something that could inspire a lot of people. I see it. I thank you for doing it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you noticed. I got a question for the Florida men before we get going too far. You know how like when a fish is in water, it's swimming. It doesn't know it's in water. It's just there. When you're in Florida, do you know you're you're Florida man?
Oh, I'm aware of it.
Absolutely,
everywhere I
it's
go.
it's in your veins. It's genetic. It's like autism. You can't get rid of it. It's here when you're in Florida. You are 100% Florida man. The vibe is here, right?
You got to remember, I lived in LA before this, so I was in enemy territory, and especially during COVID, I'd be walking my dog without a mask on, and people would be yelling at me and yelling at my dog. Where here, I walk around and I have my Florida hat, and I keep a picture of me and DeSantis on my phone in case I get challenged by anybody, like, oh, you're the new guy from Cali, because they think you're a communist or something. Like, don't worry, I'm with this guy. And it's just like everyone here is happy, functional, everything's working here, there's no crime. It's all good, so you're always aware.
There's business, less taxes. You have firearms that you could actually keep on you and defend yourself if you get attacked without, going to jail for the rest of your life, which is a big peace of mind for a lot of individuals.
And we have a story
You
too
loot,
that
we shoot.
We have and Ron said that.
Yeah.
We have a story we might get to that I talked about quite a bit earlier. It was the prankster, they call him, in Virginia, where he's getting in people's faces, freaking them out, and then he got shot, and they lock up the victim. But for who was shooting in self-defense. Jury said it was self-defense. They still put him in jail. So we'll talk about this stuff. But let's jump into the first story. We got big news, ladies and gentlemen, from the Washington Post. Check it out. Matt Gaetz files motion to oust Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. Rep. Matt Gaetz introduced a resolution Monday evening to remove Kevin McCarthy from his seat, triggering an expected intra-party clash and setting up a showdown for the House to decide whether to depose McCarthy, likely within 48 hours. Gaetz and a handful of hard-right Republicans have repeatedly threatened to go after McCarthy's speakership if he relied on Democratic votes to pass any spending legislation, which happened Saturday after McCarthy could not get a majority of Republicans to support various proposals to fund the government with only GOP votes. Using a motion to vacate, a single person can force the House to consider removing the Speaker. McCarthy agreed to lowering the threshold to bringing the motion to win over enough support to become Speaker in January. This one's going to be really interesting. McCarthy's basically a Democrat at this point. If he's now teaming up with Democrats for his spending bills and working against Republicans, the question, though, is, will Democrats now, seeing an opportunity, team up with Matt Gaetz to remove Kevin McCarthy?
Do you guys see what's going on Twitter right now? Kevin McCarthy just tweeted, quote, bring it on. Matt Gaetz retweeted him just a couple minutes ago and said, just did. So the drama's unfolding on Twitter in real time as this video is happening right now. And it's very interesting to see what Matt Gaetz is doing here, because I think, the long-term strategy for Matt here is to probably become the next governor of this very beautiful, amazing state after Ron DeSantis leaves office in a few years. And if he's going to leave in a fury of fireworks and just public outrages and storms, this is the way to do it. This is the way to get your name out there. And in our current kind of political sphere where outrage sells and controversy really is the lead, this is the way to get everyone's attention. And I think he's doing a good job at it. As of course, this is an important issue. He's making an important stand, even though it is Republicans fighting each other, which they usually do anyway.
I mean, we all knew this was going to happen, right? It took McCarthy, 15 votes to get the speakership in the first place. So it was all leading to this at some point. I think most of us, and probably most of your viewers, are with Gaetz in spirit, of course. Enough of the nonsense spending, enough of giving all the money away to Ukraine and everything else. Can we take care of our border? But I hate to tell Matt Gaetz, even if this is just because he wants to be governor, the House always wins. That's how this operates in Washington, right? McCarthy will stick around most likely, and even if he doesn't, it's not going to be Gaetz as Speaker of the House. And the machine just finds a way. You got to give the devil his due. We may not like it. I certainly don't like it. I don't think any of you guys like it, but it finds a way. That's why we always get into these shutdowns. Frankly, I would be for the government shutting down right now and not coming back for a couple of years. That would be fine with me, but that's not what's going to happen, right? They extend it for 45 days, and 45 days from now, we'll all be pissed about something else, and something else will happen. But don't worry, Zelensky will get his cash.
Yep, and the Republicans will bend over and bend the knee and take whatever globalist policy that they tell them to take, and they'll implement it without even any kind of doubt. Kevin McCarthy has been a lot different in his kind of reign ever since Tucker Carlson left Fox News. And I think really there's something to note here when it came to Tucker Carlson and Fox News calling him out. That whole entire pressure on him is totally gone. And since then, we have seen a totally different Kevin McCarthy that really has been not in favor of the people and ruling in a way that hasn't been benefiting anyone but the ruling elites.
Isn't there something super weird happening here? Because Trump backed McCarthy. Gaetz is a Trump guy. I saw the base guys going after Gaetz today because Trump backed McCarthy. So it really creates some really strange bedfellows. Like the arrows start going in some really weird ways. And then did you see Trump today after the hearing that he did in, where was that? That was in New York, right? After the hearing, he basically was like, well, I'm not going to go after McCarthy because he says nice things about me, which is, that's what everyone hates about Trump, but I get it.
Right.
He can say anything.
I think
they'll always love him.
Matt, this was during the fight for the speakership in the House. Trump was for McCarthy, and Matt said no, and Matt said he didn't care. I think this shows Matt's principled. I have tremendous respect for the work that he's doing. It's about time somebody did it. But to be completely honest, I'll soften a bit of what you said, Dave. You're right. I mean, the machine finds a way. You've got all these snakes, and Matt's trying his best. I posted a picture of Sisyphus when he said, I'm trying to change DC. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, and people got mad. They were like, what's the alternative? I'm like, I'm not saying he shouldn't do it. I'm glad he's doing it, but he's pushing a boulder uphill, and it is a long way uphill. I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. He's one of the most effective, one of the best politicians we have, if you can even say a politician is good. But he's pushing a boulder uphill.
Well, philosophically, what would you say? I mean, I think if McCarthy was sitting here, he would say, hey, there's this giant swamp. There's this giant system. I mean, I've interviewed him and talked about this. I think he would say you can maybe get some incremental things. Like the machine is the swamp and the deep state, there's so much there. And they can almost never get anything done, right? Like the Democrats are just pure evil and the Republicans are kind of just a little less evil. So I think McCarthy's argument would be, in essence, it would be, hey, maybe we can do a little something, spend a little bit less, or get a little money moved to the border or something. And I think that's really what he's saying right now. That would be a win. Where basically what you're saying is Gaetz is just he's throwing the Hail Mary, knowing there is no flying F chance that it's going to work. But it is good if you're actually auditioning for another job. Exactly. I would say, by the way, I don't think it's not necessarily just governor. I think he may just want a spot on network TV.
I don't think he wants to be governor. I would imagine that he probably, if there was further future ambitions, Senate makes more sense. Governor brings him to the state, whereas he's in D.C. right now, right? So that's a shift. You wouldn't want to take, right?
Well, if he likes being in Florida, I mean, he is a Florida guy. Like, if he likes being in Florida, why not come home to Florida? I mean, D.C. is an absolute disgusting cesspool of scum and villainy.
I wouldn't immediately say it's just about a job prospect. They're trying to remove him. Mm-hmm. They're threatening to expel Matt Gaetz for what he's doing.
I wonder if this is why Thomas Massie tweeted out, this is like yesterday, I fear, this is the quote tweet from Thomas Massie, I fear the attempting to vacate Speaker McCarthy at this juncture is a bad idea that will lead to worse outcomes for conservatives. Signed, the only still serving co-author and co-sponsor of the motion to vacate Speaker Boehner. So he went through this before, and apparently thinks it's not because maybe
he back McCarthy anyway?
Thomas Massie?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty sure he did.
But
I think they did at the end, but they did. Him and Chip Roy ended up getting a bunch of concessions that I think now Gaetz is saying, well, you guys aren't actually getting the concessions at him. But Massie, to me, Massie is the most libertarian, anti-government guy we have in government. Maybe, Rand Paul's right there too, but in the House. And it's like, if that's what he's saying, there's probably, he knows something behind the scenes.
I wonder if he's afraid of what's happening to Gaetz, that they're going to now turn on Gaetz. And he's like, we don't need inter-party conflict right now because the Democratic Party is trouncing us.
Intra-party.
Intra-party.
Yeah.
Right. You don't need Gaetz getting any friendlier with AOC, which every now and again they kind of dig each other.
Hey, I like it. But I'll appreciate, they were trying to stop insider trading in Congress. Okay, I'll take it. Yeah. We can take our wins where we can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Kevin McCarthy has a backroom deal to get funding for Ukraine? I cannot believe that I'd be willing to bet if you went and just talked to random people on the street, should we spend money on Ukraine? They're going to say no. Mostly. A lot of people will probably say yes, of course. And depending on which city you go to, they're going to have flags everywhere. They'll say yes. But I think a genuine random sampling of 1 million people in this country finds 70, 80, 90% saying no. Why would we do that? But of course, Congress will do it. Why? Because Congress is not beholden to the American people. They're beholden to lobbyists.
Hey, as Mitch McConnell said, the number one job of the Republican Party is to fund the Ukraine war. The war that we're also not in. At some point, do you think if you're giving hundreds of billions of dollars to fund a war, you're in a war?
Yeah.
Would that be a technical way you'd say you're in a war?
Yes, I agree.
Eventually, if you're funding everything and also, by the way, pushing the guy with nukes a little closer to World War III, which really is what they're doing, right? Like at the end of the day, you could say Russia's losing and losing and losing, which they're not, by the way, but you could say that. And at the end of the day, when the shit is about to hit the fan, he has nukes. So who really is winning?
And we're talking about his doorstep.
Yeah.
So it's just, they've not given any legitimate reason to us as to why we're involved in Ukraine. They've not even tried to. Now, Kevin McCarthy goes and makes a backroom deal with Democrats, ignoring the Republicans, who he's supposed to be working with, to get funding for Ukraine. Wasn't it, am I wrong about this? They put together a clean bill, but it didn't have Ukraine spending in it. And they're like, no, Democrats were like, we refuse.
I mean, the fact that the Democrats have become so clearly the war party is just such a perfect example of when I say that the machine always stays ahead. That's how it always stays ahead, because somehow the parties flip in front of your eyes. The liberals become conservatives and the conservatives become liberals. The machine figures out a way to just exist and continue.
Do you think the people are voting because they're afraid of Putin or because they're just bought?
Oh, you mean our congressmen? I don't think our congressmen are afraid of Putin. Like, maybe Putin's got some dish on who's like banging who and who's doing coke and hookers and all that stuff. But I think it's they figure one way or another, they get these people basically to betray the United States. And then you also have to remember, guys, like, we have such a nation of people who are not paying attention in any way whatsoever because they're addicted to pills or porn or whatever, or just distracted or don't care, or they're scrolling this thing all day or playing video games all day, that it's just easy to just keep the machine in operation. It's actually not that difficult. We can all talk about it, but it's not that difficult to keep a bunch of people stupid.
But I do think we are seeing a generational shift. A lot of it has to do with Ron Paul. That's how you end up with people like Matt Gaetz. Mm-hmm. Because where Ron Paul was Dr. No, he's in Congress, he's saying, no, why are we doing this? Very few people cared. Then he runs 2008, creates a movement on the internet. A lot of young people grew up understanding and hearing what he had to say. And a lot of these young people shouldn't have heard it at all if the machine had its way. So I do think there's a strong possibility, and the culture war is a component of this. What the quote unquote right is in the culture war is basically people who are inspired by the ideas of freedom, liberty, individuality, etc. And now you're looking at a deep state, a bureaucratic state, desperate to stop a freedom movement of some sort to varying degrees.
It's pretty clear the people aren't being represented in Congress. The people are disenfranchised. People are pissed off. The price of everything is going up, and these politicians are getting richer and richer every single year that they're in public office when they're supposed to be taking political salaries, and then but they're millionaires somehow. How did that happen? Because they're selling you out. They're selling your country out. And you were right, Tim, especially about Ron Paul. He started, of course, the original Tea Party. The original Tea Party was hijacked, but the original Tea Party sowed the seeds for Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street brought a lot of people together. Then, of course, it was also co-opted. But after Occupy Wall Street, we saw a huge shift, especially in the media narratives, especially in the divide and conquer kind of arena. And now we're really reaching a point where people are like, I'm sick of politics. I hate politicians. None of these people represent me. The Republicans are just as bad as the Democrats. The Democrats are just as bad as the Republicans. It's a uniparty screwing you over. And I think a lot of people are realizing it. And that's why Kevin McCarthy, I think, is more popular than ever. And
Kevin McCarthy or Matt Gaetz? Sorry,
excuse me. Matt Gaetz is more popular than ever.
They both are, to be honest.
I apologize for that. But I got the tweets pulled up here, and that's why I'm mixing words here. But Matt Gaetz is more popular than ever for a reason. And there's a reason we reacted to this news the way we did, because it does kind of represent a sentiment of people just being disenfranchised and pissed off.
I think one other thing related to Gaetz, putting aside governor or whether he wants a TV host, someone is going to have to be the heir apparent to MAGA at some point, right? Yep. Whether it's because of indictments or Trump literally falls down the stairs or just goes out into the sunset or falls up the stairs, right? Exactly. But whatever that thing is, when Trump is no longer involved in this whole thing, someone has to take that thing. And it seems like Gaetz is basically saying, hey, I'll be the guy to do that. Again, it's kind of weird because Trump backed McCarthy and refuses to say anything bad about him. And then the Trump people were going after Gaetz today. And that's what also makes politics so infuriating, right?
But Trump's just the avatar of the anger. He's captured.
Right. So so take the anger.
So when Trump backs Fauci, when Trump backs McCarthy, there's a lot of people who are like, I still think Trump's the best bet, but it means that it is not about Trump. This is the thing that people didn't realize. I should say Democrats didn't realize 2016 on. They kept saying Trump is doing this. Trump is causing this division. It's like, no. Trump is not the cause of. He is a symptom of. The people in this country are angry. And like Michael Moore? Yeah. He said Donald Trump is the human Molotov cocktail that they're going to launch into the system, and it'll feel good. If you stop there, his statement was fantastic.
Coming from a human keg,
But he then goes on to say, for a few days or a few weeks, but then they'll realize, and they didn't realize. No, he was wrong. The people chose Donald Trump because he was just an avatar representing their anger. That means as time goes on, it may not be Donald Trump. It could be a lot of different people, so long as you're true to what the point is. And the point is, we want accountability in government.
Well, there was Make America Great was really, because you're talking about there's angry MAGA and then there's like functional MAGA. And like, I'm afraid that if it's the anger that got him elected, that we'll see another anger representative in the future, maybe not even from MAGA, and that things could get really bad.
Well, look, you can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea, right? V for Vendetta. And that's the idea. And I think Gaetz kind of sees that the Trump thing will not exist forever. How old is Trump? He's 79, 78? 78, right? He's no spring chicken again. So regardless of where this ends out, whether he's president again or anything, the man will not exist forever. So Gaetz is seeing the writing on the wall. I mean, Gaetz, I like him a lot too, but like he is a politician, so he's in the system too. He's not in as a politician right now to not be a politician after, right? He's in the politician to figure out what his next steps are. And if he sees, wow, there's a movement that the leader's kind of getting old and someone's got to take over, like he's kind of doing what's right for him. I'm not even begrudging him that. I think it's just worth noting.
Yeah. Victor Hugo once said, nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And I think we're in that particular time where there are multiple political paradigm shifts that are absolutely huge that we're living through right now. It's very exciting, but it's also very dangerous at the time because, as Ian mentioned, it could go either way.
Yeah, we got to focus the MAGA laser on something creative like graphene, like reindustrialization of the United States.
Everyone drink, take a shot.
Because if we don't focus the MAGA laser, the Chinese Communist Party will focus it, or the World Economic Forum will focus it and get people to fight each other. And I feel like that's what's been happening for 5 years, is that people are obviously, the world is attempting to manipulate our government and our people, and they are.
And I think it's more so, you have that meme where it's they're trying to make us fight amongst ourselves so that we don't actually challenge the system and the corrupt. And half true. That meme goes back to Occupy Wall Street, where you got a bunch of people saying the 99% and, the big bank screwed us over. And there's a rich guy in his office on the phone. He says, introduce identity politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What I see is they tried to figure out a way. How do you make it so that it's no longer about the wealthy and the poor, but you make it so that the poor people fight each other? Identity politics. You get a bunch of people on the left to start attacking people based on their race. Of course, the right will defend themselves. Who wouldn't defend when they're being attacked? Namely, when they go after like white people and say white males and all that stuff. And this creates division. So it's funny to me when we then see leftists pushing the meme that they're making us fight amongst ourselves, when it's like, yeah, there's America, a constitutional republic that has values, norms, and a Bill of Rights. And then there's the weird culty Marxist garbage you're introducing. You are the psyop. What they're doing is the manipulation.
Yeah, they're the pawns in the game. They're the useful idiots, and they don't realize it. All the kids that were out there burning down their neighborhoods and burning down the Pep Boys and the Target, like they were doing it to themselves and not even realizing it. But when you talk about the Uniparty as one Florida guy to another, it's one Florida man to another.
Florida man.
This place that we live in, this is pretty freaking functional. There is nothing going on here, unless you guys can think of something that I don't know about, that is not right in this state in terms of what a functional government can do.
I was driving to get dinner.
What do you got? A gator jumped out of a river, snapped the beanie? What happened?
There was like 4 inches of water in the street, which proves climate change.
Absolutely.
We're working on climate change. We're very close to the water here, so it's a little more complex.
We're going to make Ian eat the bugs, and then climate change is going to be over. It's going to be fine.
You were sarcastically illustrating my point. We can't even.
It was raining today.
Right, it rained a little today, right? People will be like, well, there's a lot of traffic in the Miami area now. Well, yes, we did get about 300,000 new people here, and we're building incredibly fast. So I totally agree with you on the Uniparty thing and that the Republicans just blow and suck and all of those things. But in micro places, in different states, and that's the beauty of federalism, it's working. Like this place is hyper functional, has brought in 1 million people. Everyone's flourishing. We have some issues. There's some issues around insurance, right? Home insurance, because we have we had a Category 5 Hurricane Ian a year ago, 2 days, and we had another one, Idalia, not too long ago. So there's some like human issues. But in terms of the functioning of the state and law and order and the you loot, we shoot thing, that Hurricane Ian demolished Southwest Florida last year, demolished it. There was no looting. Zero looting. That literally would not have happened.
Well, there was a
state.
little skirmish outside of the Miami Heat stadium,
Yes.
but then cops came in right away, and then they booked people for blocking traffic immediately.
Again,
and then it was over
illustrating
right
my
away.
point. There was a skirmish. Or I love it when people, and I saw a lot of MAGA people doing this because they're always going after Florida right now. When it's Miami, it's spring break, and in Miami Beach, they get thousands of people from other places, and they get real drunk at night, and they brawl in the streets. And it happened for like 2 nights. And I saw all these people going after DeSantis. First off, the governor is not in charge of what happens on every street in every city every moment. But I tweeted something like, you guys do know that if this lasts another day, Fort Lauderdale, by the way, and Miami Beach, Democrat mayors, some of the few Democrat mayors in the entire state, he's going to get involved. And then 2 days later, the National Guard was there. Like, that's what I'm saying. This place, while the D.C. version of the Uniparty is deeply corrupt and backwards, some places are doing it right. And it's not just Florida. I think this is the best example of it.
I'm a little biased, but I do believe Florida is the Alamo. It is the last free kind of standing place in America that's standing up for a lot of individual liberties, a lot of rights, a lot of, just the basic principle of you being able to keep your money. That's a very important principle that a lot of people don't have in California and in New York. And that's why I think I kind of want to go against your point, Tim, a little bit. I do think a governor is more powerful than a senator on a local level because I do believe...
I'd say he wasn't more powerful.
I'm saying when you were talking about Gaetz, you were saying
Gaetz,
I don't think he wants to be a
Gaetz
governor. I think he wants to be a senator. Yeah,
yeah. You can have a lot of power in Florida, or you can have a little bitty power in D.C. But D.C. is the whole country.
I would argue a governor is way more important than a senator, mainly because of just how much involved they are in everyday life, just how much they can make a difference when it comes to carrying firearms, just how much they can make a difference when it comes to tax policy, and I truly do believe Matt Gaetz, I think, would be a better governor than a senator, and I would hope he becomes the next governor of Florida.
What I'm saying is, when you're a senator or member of Congress, you can actually have an impact on immigration and war. When you're a governor, you can't deport people. You don't have the authority, and you can only voice your opinion.
We did send a whole bunch of people to Martha's Vineyard,
which keeps them in the country.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate the move because it's a sanctuary city. They say right, but the issue is, while it does create, I suppose, notice of the issue, creates awareness.
Yeah, you can't solve the macro issue.
All it's doing, though, is bringing the people in and then sending them deeper into the country.
But you know what a governor does do is very important is how they handle natural disasters. I was going to ask you guys talked about the hurricane a little bit, and the "you loot, we shoot" message right off the bat curbed it. So, I think a lot of our political instability might come from natural disasters. We might think, it's about people and money, but if there's a global flood, we're going to get tens of billions or millions of people are going to flood the United. We've already seen it on the southern border. So I think
but they're flooding. Look, listen. Yes, if there are disasters and things like that in other parts of the world, but the issue is, if literally nothing happens anywhere else in the world, and we keep making the country better, they will keep saying, "I want your stuff."
But the real point is natural disasters. I think it's very important how we handle those things. And you could even call COVID a natural disaster, even if it was built by humans. That reacted as if it was a natural plague.
Look, you know how well DeSantis handled the hurricanes because they couldn't get him on anything. The media is waiting for the guy to literally just step in the wrong puddle or anything else. And Idalia, I did not see one article that he failed on anything. During Hurricane Ian, the Sanibel Causeway, it's a 3-mile bridge that they built from Fort Myers to the islands over there. It was blown apart in 5 different spots. It would have taken the federal government or any other state government literally 5 to 10 years to rebuild. They had cars going over that thing in 3 weeks. I went over it, and you could not even tell the sections that were new versus the sections that were old because he basically went there and said, "Hey, we're going to get the best engineers here. We're cutting all the red tape, build this freaking thing." And they do it. And sometimes I think the thing that DeSantis suffers from actually is that we don't know what to do with a competent governor or a competent politician. We just don't know what to do. It's like, whoa, we're doing everything right. Hot damn.
Let's talk about this. We have a story about Donald Trump from Politico. The crime is against me. Trump slams business fraud trial. Apparently, before the trial, he said that the judge was a rogue and the prosecutor was racist. I don't know what he meant by that. Is it because she's black and he's white or something? But either way, What we're seeing from this trial is absolutely bonkers. It's now advancing. I guess, Ian, you were saying something that they've dropped some of the claims against Trump?
That's what Trump said at a press conference right after he walked out of the courtroom. He and his lawyers started talking and said that because of the statute of limitations, they dropped or they are no longer pursuing like 80% of the case. And I think that's a rough estimate.
I think
Trump.
he made those comments inside of a Wendy's when he was screaming.
Was he?
Yeah, I think he went to Wendy's right after the court proceedings and did another PR where he was talking about how the AG was
awesome.
racist.
Yeah, is that like Giuliani going to the Four Seasons, but it was the Four Seasons that was like a garage or something?
No. He usually
It was
does
an actual Wendy's.
Trump usually, and he's really good at this. He does these kind of PR stunts right after a lot of these court proceedings where he goes in public places and public restaurants and buys everyone food.
Right.
And he buys goodwill and essentially has that.
I think a lot of times
this.
he walks on that bill, by the way.
Right.
That's happened multiple times.
I want to address this because we got some Florida men here. You know, the judge said that Mar-a-Lago is worth around 18 to $20 million. And this is 17 and a half acres of beach-to-beach Palm Beach property. Now, I don't know what kind of place you're living in, Dave.
Yeah.
However, whatever you must have bought living down here, it's got to be worth, based on the judge's estimate, $50, $100, something like that. So
it's completely. And so let me just say clearly, because I've hit Trump a lot lately and I got a lot of MAGA angry. I mean, all of these cases are pure bullshit. This one is the height of bullshit because it has nothing to do with anything political. It's purely to destroy the man, right? And the crazy part about this is if really the goal of all of these things was to get him out of politics, you'd have to leave him with something. You got to leave him with his businesses so he can get out, right? So the idea that they're going after him on this. Oh, and also, you know, when you buy a house, you've bought properties. When you buy a house, you can't just make up a number. This house is worth $40 million. You get an appraiser. There is a system in place. And
well, it depends, right? If you don't want to sell and someone comes to you and says, I want to buy your property, I think the value is X, you say,
sure, but the idea, so it's 17 and a half acres in West Palm Beach.
No,
it's
just
easily
not West Palm Beach. I made the same mistake.
What?
Palm Beach proper.
It's in Palm Beach proper, right.
Beach to beach.
Yeah. Have you been there? I've been there. Like it's a little bit kind of getting old and they could fix up a lot of stuff and it's probably not worth what Trump wants it to be worth, but it is easily worth $80 million. There is no real estate agent. No, I'm saying at the bare minimum, probably closer to like 120, something like that.
Way more.
I don't know about that. You also have to remember the market.
For $20 million.
Yeah, but you have to remember the market, and you have to find someone that can buy the thing. So it can be worth something sort of in our minds, but someone that really at this point, with interest rates the way they are and everything else, that would buy the thing. The point is, it's not 18. We're agreed on that. Neither one of us know whether it's 100 or 120.
If they section this thing off acre lots, he's going to get 300, 400 million for it.
But I don't know that you can do that over there.
Just dead acreage.
Right.
Yeah, there's some covenants requiring it to remain historically or something like that, which does diminish the value. But right now, there's a house next door that is a third acre and it's substantially, obviously the house property is substantially smaller, 30 some odd million dollars.
Right.
Insane.
The guy's easily off 100 million. I think we could say that. Like somewhere.
I think when you add the fact that it's a business, that it generates 25 million per year is the estimated revenue, combined with the real estate, the tennis courts, and all of that, you've got a functioning business at $25 million. If you just had a business that ran at $25 million, you could argue your business is worth $250 million. Why? So here's the way I phrase it, because Kyle Kalinske made this post where he was ragging on Trump, saying it's not worth this. It's worth 70.
That guy's still doing it.
He went nuts on this one.
That guy,
and he said it generates 25 million per year. It's worth at most $75 million. All you got to do is break it down this way. Forget the real estate value, which is 17 and a half beach to beach acres in Palm Beach. Okay, let's just say a business. Let's say you have a business that makes $25 million a year. And someone comes to you and says, you make $25 million every year? Okay, I'd like to buy this off you. I think it's worth $75 million. Your response is going to be, so what? You're paying me 2 years up front to sell for the rest of my life, $25 million a year? That's the stupidest deal I've ever heard. Maybe 10x. If he says $250 million, you're thinking, like, I get 9 years of work up front. With that money, I can do a lot of things. So if you go to Trump and you say, minus the real estate, it's only $75 million, absolutely insane. You add that business onto it, you add the 17.5, I think Trump's assessment might have, he said 400 to 600, might have been a little low, depending on how you want to imagine it. Because if you were to break it apart, you could argue that value. But the crazy thing about the story is, They're arguing in this fraud case against Donald Trump in New York and in Florida that he undervalued his property to get favorable, or he overvalues his property to get more money on loans. That's the opposite of what people do with fraud. They say their property's worth less, so they pay less in taxes.
It would also be the fault of the bank, right? Like most people get loans when you buy a house for $100,000. You might put 20 grand down, you get an $80,000 loan, but the bank comes in and appraises it. They don't just magically. You can't just write a number out and be like, give me cash. So yeah, this thing is all complete nonsense. The fact that there's not going to be a jury trial. You heard this?
Yep.
There's not going to be a jury trial because apparently his lawyer forgot to check a box on the form.
I don't know
about that.
I think it's been verified.
You don't have a jury of your peers in New York City.
Right.
You have a whole bunch of crazy leftists that will, of course, automatically, no matter what happens, no matter what evidence is provided, automatically say Trump bad, Trump jail.
Well, someone could double check it, but I think they're now saying that they didn't check a box, and that's what's going to happen. So
either Trump's lying or the judge is lying. I think the strategy here, ask yourself, why would Donald Trump actually show up for this court case when the judge already issued a summary judgment dissolving the Trump organization? They want to file an appeal. So they don't want to waste their time with a jury. That's pointless. It's going to cost them more money. All of that stuff's a waste of time. They get their ruling, run it through, file the appeal, get the lower court reversed.
Yeah, that's what I think is happening as well, because it doesn't make sense to have a jury trial. The judge is going to be deciding here. We saw a video of him today, and he clearly really likes the camera, really likes the limelight. But with all of this happening here, just to take a step back, there's politicians that literally killed American teenagers. There's politicians that go to Jeffrey Epstein's island, and you're telling me we're going after this guy because he overinflated the property value that he had? This is after investigating him for so long. This is what you have on him? Are you freaking kidding me?
I will say this. You get these Democrat types that are like, we're holding people accountable. I mean, are you saying you don't want accountability? My response is, if you come to me and say, I can choose between investigating Epstein's client list and Donald Trump overvaluing his homes, I say, I don't care about Trump's homes. Please investigate Epstein's client list. They still have not released this. Yeah. They're still not doing anything related to it. But oh boy, they're mad about Trump, the price of Trump's properties.
How many years ago did this freaking happen? This is ridiculous. This is stupid. This is not in the public interest. And this is clearly the weaponization of the justice system to destroy.
I have an idea to clean
Donald
this thing
Trump.
up. I have an idea to clean this thing up. The Timcast operation's going pretty well. You got like 87 businesses. You got a skate park indoors. You're doing a lot of stuff. Let's find out about this 18 mil. Timcast moves the operation down to Florida. You running the thing out of Mar-a-Lago.
If we can get Mar-a-Lago for $18 million, done deal. I will take a $500 million property for $18 million. I bet I can go to any bank and be like, they're selling it for $18 million. So they're going to be like, I will finance that.
Oh, you said $18 billion? 18 million? Go for it.
Do you think, are they giving you just the flat land value appraisal when they said 17? They're not even accounting for the business.
There's no such thing. Like not that because otherwise it would be a complete teardown. I don't think anyone's making that argument.
I got an idea. I have an idea. Here's my proposal to counter Democrats. I say we all give Donald Trump blanket immunity if he releases all the Epstein information and launches an investigation into Epstein. I will go as far to say I will give Trump a full pardon on literally anything he has ever done, if they actually investigate and bring out the information on Epstein. And you might be saying,
why would the Democrats?
Yeah, that's a double loss.
No, I'm saying Trump does when he gets elected. When Trump gets elected, my pitch is, I think the American people should all just agree, yeah, Trump, we're going to sign this document. All the American people agree. You are immune for any past wrongdoing ever done. It's gone. You are immune. Okay. And now go after Epstein. And you may be saying, but what if Trump's on the Epstein list? What if he's involved? I'll be like, what if he committed some very serious crimes or fraud? You're going to let him get away with all that? Absolutely. We go to drug lords and gangbangers all the time and say, we know you did this evil thing, but we're going to make you immune if you expose the leaders and the people facilitating this. So whatever you think of Donald Trump, my point is this. When they come out and they're like, we want to hold Donald Trump accountable for crimes. I mean, you're not saying you want him to get away with it, are you? I'll be like, bro, I will let him get away with it. I will clap for him having done it if it means they go after the real criminals. If it means they go after the people who were trafficking children. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think the world would be a better place, and assuming both of these would make it better, if the Bidens were completely exposed globally and everyone knew, or if Epstein and Ghislaine were globally exposed and everyone knew?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
They're probably
Epstein.
connected. In
Absolutely,
another way.
Epstein, because Epstein, it doesn't just go after the Democratic families. He also goes after the entire establishment. He also goes after the entire banking sphere, which was involved here, as we know from the latest J.P. Morgan settlement that happened. As of course, J.P. Morgan spent tens of millions of dollars trying to settle this out of court, when in reality, the facts of how they were complicit here is absolutely mind-boggling. You have to understand that the American government for over 30 plus years used your tax dollars, evaded and used and abused this system to traffic and hurt thousands of children, some of them as young as 7 years old, with your money. This is ridiculous. This is infuriating. There's so much corruption. And when you look at that Epstein thing, he doesn't just go after the puppet Biden family. He goes after everyone involved here. And there were a lot of different people, a lot of celebrities, a lot of banksters, a lot of people behind the scenes that we're not even aware of. As of course, Biden here, he's just a flesh suit that the globalists are using to screw you over.
I got the vibe that Epstein was one of Ghislaine's boys and that she has a bunch of those dudes, and he was just the one that got caught because he's an idiot or he just went too far. But she's like the kingpin, like the linchpin.
Well, where is the list? Where is the list, right?
With a judge.
It's sitting in a locked box somewhere with the judge who
There's a lot
convicted,
of information kept away from the
Ghislaine.
general public that judges are saying is too controversial for the general public to find out about, and therefore needs to be kept away from the people finding out.
So there'll be a Freedom of Information Act at some point, 30 years from now, and everyone's dead? Or,
Maybe.
No.
Down, just like they do with the JFK files that still aren't released.
60, 70 years?
Yep, 60, maybe. Even then. I think we have to understand here the government will never tell us the truth, and we have to always imagine the worst, and then times that 10, because it's probably a lot worse than what we could even imagine what really happens behind the scenes. Because with the Epstein stuff, we're still just scratching the surface to how corrupt and utterly disgusting this entire system is. And there's another article here that was just published by the Daily Mail showing just the true depths of this corruption that is titled, Senator Dianne Feinstein's Death Leaves Her Daughter Wrangling Over Breathtaking $102 million property fortune and $62 million private jet she used to visit her mansion.
That government salary?
I feel so
200K,
bad for, what's her daughter's name?
Let me look that up right now.
I feel so bad for her. I mean, you're minding your own business one day, power of attorney over your senator mom, and then you wake up to inherit $150 million in properties. The amount of work she's going to have to do.
No, it's a lot of work.
She's going
It's
to
a lot
be
of work.
in meetings with lawyers. Oh, I just feel so bad for her inheriting this vast swath of Scrooge McDuck-like wealth.
When Dianne Feinstein got into the Senate in 1826, what were they paying at the time? Does
I can
anyone
look that
know
up right
what
now.
was the
Apples?
salary?
I think it was food.
No, what year did she? No, for real. What year did she get in? She's been in. Well, she was the mayor of San Francisco, but what year did she get in the Senate? Probably 82, something like that. Like, what were they paying at the time? Because the mayor of San Francisco wasn't paying much. Maybe she had a little family money, but $100 million bucks in the plane.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, let's get some numbers.
How many children do you have to hurt to acquire that money? That's what people should be asking themselves with these politicians, because who did she sell? What did she do?
I'll tell you what she did. What she did was, I'll keep it
insider
vague.
trading. It's like Pelosi,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
What happens is a bill is introduced and it says something like, we're going to ban widgets. Widget company comes by and says, hey, this is really bad for us. It's going to cost a lot of jobs. We don't want widgets banned. And then the politician's like, oh, but they're going to introduce this onto the floor, which is going to cause a stock to drop. So they put a bunch of put options on widgets. The bill gets introduced. Stock price goes down. They cash out. Then they say, no, we're not going to vote on this one. It's gone. And then the price goes back up.
What's the, isn't there some crazy percentage that Nancy Pelosi has played the market at? Like, she trades better than 900% of all day traders or something like that, whatever.
90%?
It's something like really.
Or like 900
No,
times.
literally by like 900x. Like, it's so,
Right.
someone could check me on that. But like, how the hell did she become worth all this money? How did Gavin become worth all this money?
All of them.
Right. It's like,
That's why they want to get in Congress. They're like, it's just for, if you're a day trader and you want to get rich, you get into Congress and then you're rich.
Yeah, Feinstein, 30 years in Congress. She joined in 1992. $130,000 salary. Their salary from 130 is now up to 174.
Well,
right. So,
Yeah,
So
but
that's
look,
1.3 million.
You put your salary,
30 years,
you put your
$4 million.
90K after taxes or your 80K after taxes into a savings account, a high yield, and then with compounding interest, after 30 years, you have $150 million.
Yeah, you could, you could do it too.
It depends which way they carry the one, I think.
Right. Well, that's all members. I think it's funny that we're all sitting here laughing because we know. They know we know. It just keeps happening. But that's why I like Matt Gaetz, man. I mean, for whatever it is. Let's talk about the other guy. Here we go, everybody. You ready for this one? Bowman camp slams Nazi Republicans after fire alarm flap. This is the state of Congress. We're in serious trouble. Okay, I think you guys have seen the story. So this dude pulls the fire alarm next to a door with a sign that says depress the bar or whatever for 30 seconds to open the door. This basically causes a stall in the vote over the government spending bill. He then says later, I thought pulling the fire alarm opened the door, which, I'm sorry, I don't think he is so stupid he actually believes that. I think he's smart enough to recognize if he says he intentionally pulled the fire alarm, he gets criminally charged. So it's I just thought it opened the door. But I got to tell you, ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking it. He should be criminally charged. So after he gets a bunch of flack from everybody saying, he's trying to stall and delay, he then has his camp puts out a message saying that they're all Nazis. This is really, really funny. Let me see. I don't know if they actually have the messages here, what he actually put out. But he then comes out. Here we go. Timcast.com. Rep. Jamaal Bowman condemns use of Nazi in memo issued to Democrats by his office, saying it is important to specify the term Nazi to refer to members of the Nazi Party and neo-Nazis. And then here's a tweet from John Levine. Rep. Jamaal Bowman says Michael Knowles is a Nazi hell-bent on keeping only white men alive and in power. We cannot allow him and others to push their evil agenda, blah, blah, blah. So there you go. We can sit here and sing the praises of Matt Gaetz or Dr. Ron Paul when he was in office. And this is what Democrats have to offer, I suppose.
For the record, Michael Knowles is a Christian Republican, not a Nazi. He doesn't serve the Nazi Party.
And I'm pretty sure his wife's Jewish. But all of that aside, these people are horrible. Nothing's going to happen to Bowman. He has Democrat privilege. You can do whatever you want. You can pull fire alarms. You can be racist. You can, right before we started, there was the Ilhan Omar story about giving illegals IDs. It's like they can do anything and they get more power. That's how they operate, and they protect their own much better than Republicans do. But this guy's a buffoon. You guys, I'm sure you covered the video of him screaming at Massey in the hallway
of course.
A couple months ago. This guy is he's the worst of the worst, but he's exactly what the future of the Democrat Party is.
He changed his story from I thought it would open the door when I pulled the fire alarm to I was in a rush, I had to vote. So I pulled the fire alarm. He changed his story very recently.
He's saying that the door is right. The door is normally open. He was in a rush, and when he got to the door and saw that it was closed, he thought, I have to get to the Capitol building, and if I pull the fire alarm, it'll open the door so I can get through.
My question
Despite the fact there's a sign on the door explaining how to open it.
Is it now okay for congressmen to pull fire alarms when they're in a rush? Because that's the precedent this will set if he doesn't get arrested.
Well, I disagree. The excuse he's making is, I thought it opened the door, so it won't set precedent, but he should be arrested.
Ian, you should go to the Capitol right now and go into that same building, that same location, and you should test out your theory, being I just need to leave here and then see what happens to you, because you could say you made a coinkydink.
But that's actually a really interesting point. Yeah. What if someone goes in there and says the exact same...
A Republican, though.
No, I'm just mean literally anybody. I mean, you will get arrested.
Yeah.
You pull they're going to arrest you, and they're going to give you all the insane BS. Disrupting an official proceeding or whatever.
The Democrats really don't like that one. And how much government resources and time are you wasting? MTG released a very interesting video showing how what this Congress member was saying was an absolute lie. But I think the Babylon Bee definitely takes the cake here, as they wrote an article that was titled, Democrats propose a $12 billion study to determine what strange red handle thingy with fire alarm on it does. And they really just nailed this entire situation very well, more than any other news organization out there, as of course there's so many lies by the Democrats. There's lies by the Republicans too, but all of them are just full of crap, and he should be held responsible for what he did.
Doesn't this just seem to you like this is the next step of where the Democrats are obviously going, pulling fire alarms? Like, you've got John Fetterman in his hoodie, and they changed the rules so he can wear shorts and a hoodie.
But they changed it back, didn't they?
Did they change it back?
Yeah.
If they did, I was away for a couple of days. I might have missed one. So they actually changed it back?
Yeah, people were pissed off about that one.
Well, that I have not heard that. I'm completely amazed by that. But he will figure out a way around it.
Oh, yeah.
But just the basic idea that every norm that we have, everybody that is respectful and decent and competent will eventually be purged, and you will just get a bunch of people that pull fire alarms and tell you that they don't know what they're doing. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I guess he didn't know what he was doing.
You know what it is all that is required of evil to triumph is that good men do nothing. And too many people allow people like Bowman to run and win.
Yeah,
too many people support it.
But what if someone like pulled out a gun while they were shooting a movie and they were like, oops, and the gun went off and they killed the cinematographer like Alec Baldwin did? You would think like ignorance of not knowing that the gun was loaded with the bullet, you would think that's not an excuse to commit the crime. It's kind of a joke because
Bowman should be criminally charged. The problem is our system is broken and corrupt.
I don't. This is one I'm going to have a hard time letting go of this one because for years to come, people can pull fire alarms in Congress if this isn't taken care of right away.
I hate to tell you, they're letting him go.
He'll probably get a ticket. They'll be like, he got a fine. His office paid for it, which is your tax dollars. Something like that'll happen.
And then we'll be told it's because America is systemically racist.
Oh, yeah. That's the next thing he's going to come out and say.
Yeah, of course he is. They wouldn't have done this to a black guy. Lauren Boebert would have been walking off scot-free.
Yep.
White supremacy.
How black-pilled are you?
I'm a little black-pilled about the nation as a whole, but I'm very white-pilled on what's going on here in Florida. And I think that that's the freedom, or that's the future of America. We're going to kind of go our different directions, and it's
And then
okay.
Florida declares independence?
I think we're probably not that far from that to some extent, in some way. I only mean that's part. Well, it's not even that you'd have to do that. The states are set up to be laboratories of democracy, and yes, you can't solve all the problems in your own state because yes, they can still screw you. They can still screw you at the border by letting in all these people, but you can control your border to some degree. You can't control.
Florida declare independence?
No, not today. No, not yet.
Today.
Yes,
No.
yesterday. Please declare independence immediately. Get away from the union and just leave us alone, please.
Let's put it this way. I never thought I would have been a separatist in the Star Wars prequels, but the more you watch them and you see what's going on, you kind of go, well, actually, when an entire system is corrupt, getting out of the system does make sense. I'm not for that. Well, the other problem with that is that the red states, if the red states really were just like, let's kind of all get together and not leave in like some drastic way, but just kind of do our own thing, have economic trading policies and all that on our own. The blue states will never let them go. Florida and Texas and South Dakota don't want anything from the blue states, but California wants the money and the resources of Florida. They can't keep running these giant deficits and all of this other shit without Florida and the red states, because what's going to increasingly happen, we know this is happening. All of the functional people who build things, who want the government out of the way, who want to produce, they're all moving to the red states and they're leaving the blue states. And don't forget that Lee Zeldin, who nobody knew about 2 weeks before the New York gubernatorial election, he lost by about 500,000 votes. You know how many people moved out of New York during COVID?
Yep.
About 400,000. So it was that close to flipping what is like the bluest of blue states, and now it just got further. So,
but this is one of the,
it's just gonna
the
keep
big
happening.
components of what happens in Florida and Texas. Why it flips so red? It's people coming here and then voting red.
They're voting the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, I meet these people all the time because people know that I did it very publicly. But everyone I meet here, the amount of former Dems that now tell me they're first-time Republicans. Do you know the numbers on that? The when DeSantis came into office, someone could check this. I think the Republicans were actually down by voter registration, and now they're up by like 400,000 or something like that. Someone give me the real numbers on that.
On our way here in the airport, met some fans. And they were like, "Oh, cool, we love your show." And I was like, "What are you up to?" And they're like, "We're moving to Florida." No joke. Yeah, they were like, "We're moving." And I was like, "Wow." I was like, "We're on our way to Miami."
Yeah, Miami went red.
I know.
Miami went red.
The city went red.
It's a major urban area. Urban area is predominantly overwhelmingly Democrat.
Can I tell you something so great about this? Is just how like functional these people are. I was doing the show one day and I was talking about the crazy. Oh, it was right after I was in San Francisco and I did this video that went viral, just the zombie apocalypse, right? So I was talking about San Francisco and LA and Portland, Seattle, all that. And I said, I don't know how many homeless people there are in Miami, but I know it's not that many because you never see them, and we take care of business here. Literally, while I'm doing it, I get a text from Suarez, the mayor of Miami, and he says, "Dave, tell your audience we have 348, and I'm working on it." Like, think about the functional difference of the people that are running this state and this city versus almost the entire country.
I think you were looking for numbers earlier.
Yeah.
Republican Party of Florida, numbers for that. And 2023 was 5.2 million. Before that, it was 5.3 million in 22. So they're down 80,000 or something.
Wait.
No.
In 2020, it was 5.2.
In 2023, it was 5.24. In 2020, I'm going backwards. Let me go forward. In 2019, there were 4.7. 2020, there were 5.2. So that's 500,000 people joined the Republican Party in that year. 2021, it went down from 5.2 to 5.1. So a million registered Republicans left the party.
100,000, you mean?
No.
Oh, yeah, 100,000. I'm sorry, I'm getting these numbers wrong. It's This is from dos.myflorida.com. Does that sound familiar? Are these
Well,
numbers familiar?
the net number you're talking about is basically in 4 years, it's about 500,000 more Republicans
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
And that is like a massively huge number for a state that is now really the reddest state in the nation. I mean, the guy won by 20 points, has a supermajority in
And
the
there's
In 2000
300,000
in-
less Democrats.
In 2017, there was 4.5 million registered Republicans. Today, there are 5.2 million registered Republicans in the state of Florida.
How many Democrats?
There are 4.6 as of today, and in 2017, it was 4.8.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a major urban state. Like all of Florida is a developed.
Well,
Yeah.
we personally have to thank the Cubans here. They've been through
I'm down
the
in Miami.
socialism
Yeah.
and the communism. They're pretty based. They don't like centralization, and I get along with them very well because I come from communist Poland. We don't like government there either. They don't like big government here as well.
But you know, the other thing that happens once you start doing things right, I think one of the things DeSantis has done really well. So, for example, I disagree with DeSantis on the 6-week heartbeat bill. Personally, my personal belief is 15 weeks. That's kind of where I would even be on 12 weeks. But I'm not as, let's say, conservative on that. But when you do strong conservative policies, not only do you get strong conservative people to move into your state, you also scare off the whack job lefties. So somebody that might have moved to Florida before because of low taxes, suddenly they're like, but wait a minute, I like 6-month abortions. I'm never going to move there. So it actually doubly helps you. You get the good people coming, and you're also putting a force field so the wackadoodles don't move in.
But there's a major negative to that. And if you look at what California did with illegal immigration, they end up getting between about 1 or 2 extra seats in Congress to vote against your rights, ban your right to keep and bear arms and things like that by breaking the law.
By what? By allowing them to vote, you mean?
They don't allow them to vote.
Or
What happens is
whatever it is they allow them to do.
When non-citizens are allowed into the state of California, they are counted in the census, which then apportions congressional seats. So you don't need to be a citizen in order for your presence to have an effect on the Electoral College and Congress.
I blame this on the federal government and also the Banana Republic
And
of
so
California.
there's actually is a risk here. If all of the people are leaving their areas, and I'm not saying they should stay. They should certainly be moving away from these cities, in my opinion, for the most part. But if they all come to Florida and then Florida wins by 20 points, if you're thinking about strategic allotment of your resources, gerrymandering comes to mind. You want to make sure that you are putting just enough people in the right places to win those districts. If you get 500,000 people from 3 or 4 states, put them all in Florida, Florida's already red. Florida doesn't need 500,000 new people.
Florida did get more seats because of that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's 1 extra seat.
Yeah.
That's just about 1 more seat that's going to be given to Florida. But you'd be better off winning outright winner-take-all states by putting 100,000 in 5 states as opposed to 500,000 in 1 state.
To be clear, as a new Floridian, I'm not for everybody moving here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you really do need to spread it out. And as a nation, we do have to, if we're going to remain united at all, which gets us back to the other thing. But yeah, we need
not
to
so convinced.
But look, if we are too, I think maybe we aren't. But
yeah.
I think, yes. Well, look how many people moved to Tennessee in the last 3 years. I mean, it's a crazy amount of people as well.
But,
so.
it might just be, we talk a lot about national divorce, civil war, what it means. And there are a lot of people that think this is like where we are now is where we will be until the fighting starts. And there's another reality. San Francisco's in disarray. Yeah. It's falling apart. Los Angeles is falling apart. There's feces everywhere. The Westfield Mall. What was it? They relinquished the claim to the property to their lender.
Oh, in San Francisco.
Yeah. The mall. 2 of the biggest hotels did. The reality may be that these blue states stay on this path. We maintain stability for 5, 6, 7 years, and these cities just lose all their political power and capital. Now, right now, they can claim, we make all the money, and blue states do all the work. You're a city, okay? It's outside of the cities is all red for the most part. If these cities are mismanaged to this degree, and their policies are going insane and people are leaving, it's called a brain drain. The people who are leaving are the hard workers who don't want to be in a place where they're being oppressed for their hard work. So they go to Florida, where they can strive, where they can thrive. And then the people who remain are demanding of the government. The government raises taxes. The system falls apart. Give it 5, 10 years. New York will be a pigsty, pit stain. No one's going to want to be there anymore, and they will have no political capital. and then people are going to look to Florida, and they're going to look to Texas, and they're going to look to Tennessee.
Well, the next version is then between the fentanyl and the God knows what sex these people are doing and everything else. So then the super virus starts, the zombie apocalypse, and then yes, we do have to put gators at the border to keep these freaks out.
Gators.
Do you think you could have benefited at all, California, if you'd stayed?
No, I did everything I could do. I fought as hard as anyone. I campaigned with Larry Elder. I got audited by the state 3 days after the campaign ended. That was the day I put my house for sale, for real. California wants to go in that direction. There are good people there. I was just there. I had dinner with some friends. Like, there are still a good people remaining, but everyone's depressed. It's all they talk about. Yes, you're going to find pockets of sanity. Of course, it's not all that crazy everywhere. But you're right. The brain drain, it's not just what it does to the businesses and everything else. It's what it does to the human spirit when you realize you're in a, why would you ever open a store, a freaking sneaker store or a pizza joint, if you know on any given moment they're going to burn it down?
So
what it does to your family.
So what happens is, the brain drain is, the people who normally start the businesses leave because they can't, and the people who don't start businesses stay and demand of the government.
Right.
Well,
That's
this
the
happened,
Writers Guild
This
strike.
is the same exact thing that happened in Cuba. Cuba faced a major brain drain, and this is why a lot of people speculate that we had a total almost collapse of their society because everyone was leaving Cuba, leaving communism, leaving somewhere where the government was oppressing them, taxing them, controlling them, and they left for places like Florida. And this is why Cuba is the state that it is now. This is why the Soviet Union fell. This is why communism never works, and the people in that country usually go hungry because the people capable are the ones usually punished by that entire system.
Tim,
It's a
you want to
repressive
go?
system.
You want to go while you're in Miami to a place where everyone's going to know you and buy you a mojito. Go to Little Havana down here and hang out with some of the Cubans who will talk about freedom until 4 a.m, hopped up on sugar and rum. These are good people who care. They care
And
about
arepas.
freedom.
Yeah, and mint, though. You said mojitos?
Yeah.
No.
Mojitos.
No mint for me.
Dude, you mentioned
Ceviche. We'll share
We
ceviche.
we don't drink no booze here. We'll have a little kombucha with them, but
Kombucha. I don't drink that
A
either.
little kombucha.
yeah. But no, the Cubans here are very based, and they're very, very strongly independent. They don't like government. They don't like centralization, and I think this is why Florida is so great because of them.
I keep thinking about pills. You mentioned earlier, like the brain drain, and it's all kind of circling around my head now. Like just distractions in general, people playing video games, watching porn, taking opiates or whatever, opioids. What is your vision for how to help people? I mean, I'll just say weed apparently can help people with withdrawals. You know, it can help suppress some of the pain that felt by opiate withdrawals.
CBD.
CBD.
Yeah.
So, but there are paths to maybe introduce new things, but like, what do you see? Because I think this is like, no matter how political you get, it always comes down to if the population's doped up, population ain't going anywhere.
Well, look, I'm not Jordan Peterson, so I'm not in the business of giving life advice to people, but I do my August off the grid thing for 1 month a year for 7 years. I freaking put this thing in a safe, and I have no news, no TV, no social media, nothing. I know absolutely nothing. A couple of years we've gone to Bora Bora. A couple of years this year we were in the Mexican rainforest.
Wow.
And just disappear. This year, I really, now having kids, this year I didn't want to do it. I didn't read any books. I just did nothing. I mean, we exercised, ate good food, but that was it. And then I come back and I have fresh eyes on this. You know, Tim, since me and you, we're like OG in this freaking thing, right? like think about it, where we started and where both of us are respectively. We've been doing this for a long time.
I was later than a lot of people.
Yeah, but roughly, we're old timers now
10 years.
in this game. I hate to tell you, man. But when I first met you, you had freaking nothing, and you've built something amazing. Like, we've been in this for a long time. And how many people do you know that were in the similar world as us that have lost their freaking mind, gone crazy, just the whole thing breaks them. The politics breaks them, the money breaks them, the fame breaks them, or the lack of money or lack of fame,
You see-
blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And to me, 1 month, so I take 1/12 of the year without this freaking thing, and I come back and I'm fresh and I'm ready to go. And I think it's kept me in the game.
You're asking people to basically, we'll do a Marvel reference so that everybody can
if I can
understand
work
and
with you
enjoy
on
it.
this one.
Yeah, in Infinity War, when Thor is standing in the way of the star, the Star Forge, you're asking people in politics to stand in the center of a forge being burned on all sides. Not everybody can handle that.
Oh, that's where he gets the big hammer or something, right?
Yeah,
He gets
he has to
I
pull
got
the
it, I got
levers
it.
and it blasts him, and he's
Yeah.
like dying.
Yeah.
So this
All
is
right, I'm asking people to do that. Is that such a big deal?
This job is being inside of a pressure cooker,
Yeah.
24/7 nonstop, and some people like popcorn.
Yeah.
When's the last time you did 1 day? 1 day.
No, usually I would say Like Saturdays.
Yeah. Oh, so you do try to.
I would say Saturdays I'm like 99% reduced.
All right.
You know, like I still check my phone for texts and stuff like that. But usually Saturday morning and then around Sunday night, I'm back on and I'm picking everything up.
I was
and
in a
reading
Twitter hellhole yesterday, man. There's nothing like it.
Oh, it'll get you. It'll bring you to hell, and then you're just lucky if you can get back in. But I'll tell you, you do this, if you can try to do it, even for a weekend or a week or whatever, like when I'm 3 weeks into this thing, I'm remembering friends that I have not thought of, second graders. I can basically remember every kid in my class. I'll have whole songs, albums in my brain. I can tell you every word. Like there is so much stuff in the recesses of the human mind that we just completely shit on with day-to-day. Holy shit, this person who I don't know, I never heard of, they said something and I'm going to destroy them for it. And we're doing that all day long. And there is magic in us, in our minds,
your
in our brains,
dopamine
in our
receptors,
spirit.
your dopamine receptors are just being blasted, and it's pretty much just unhooking from the matrix. I used to do it every 2 weeks, but things have been so crazy. It's been difficult within the last few years to take a break. But you reminded me, I need to take a break. It's just like meditation. If you can't meditate for 10 minutes, you got to meditate for 20 minutes.
Exactly. The machine ain't going to slow down.
Exactly.
I hate to tell you.
This is why vacation is important.
Yeah.
Let's jump to this tweet here.
Let's get on Twitter.
We're going to get onto it.
Let's get to more murder talk.
We have this tweet from Scott Adams.
Yeah.
This story, as Dave says, is wild. Scott Adams tweeted July 1st, 2020, if Biden is elected, there's a good chance he will be dead within the year. Republicans will be hunted. Police will stand down. On September 30th, Josh Kruger says, the Dilbert dude is like Nostradamus. Look at this prediction from 2020. Wow, eerie. Making fun of Scott Adams for having made that point. And then we have this story from Timcast.com. Journalist shot 7 times in Philadelphia home. Josh Kruger was killed in his home on Monday. Yo, that's crazy. So this is actually what this is. He was killed today. Is that it? I thought it was 1 a.m.
Jeez. Wow.
So this guy who was just mocking Scott Adams over his prediction about this stuff was shot and killed in his own home. I think the news is that there was no sign of a break-in. He had mocked and argued with critics expressing concern of a rising crime in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he made fun of people who weren't taking COVID seriously, and he said COVID is more of a serious threat than the urban violence that's happening all throughout the United States. And he was pretty much ridiculing a lot of people who were taking it seriously, as I think if you live in a major city, you should be taking survival and personal protection very seriously.
I think you might want to consider not being there, but let's. Here's one tweet. He says, look, it's that lawless land of liberals in Philly where shootings are dropping to levels not seen in years. Here's another one. Bro, speak for your block, not mine. It isn't ruined. The city isn't ruined. And just because Larry Krasner keeps winning in landslides doesn't mean Philly is a heap of cinders and ash, no matter how much people say. Like the rest of this country, we are dealing with upticks in crime. The crazy thing is, I saw these tweets. I don't know when he posted this one, but I remember seeing people retweeting this before he died.
Yeah, it's not too long ago. I think they were in August.
Right. I remember when these tweets were going on, people were saying, like, are you crazy? Like, you're not considering what the people need. This dude was killed in his own home. In Baltimore, we had the story of that tech CEO who was found beaten to death on her roof by a guy who only a few days earlier had tortured a couple. He broke into their house, tied them up, raped the woman, set them both on fire. Police knew he did it, and they said nothing. And then he killed again, and then they came and said, okay, this is getting serious. These are the things that are happening in our cities. And don't get me wrong, these things happen, crime happens, all this stuff happens, but it is just, I don't know what you'd call it, shocking coincidence or whatever, that this guy has been defending the positions that Democrats have taken that have led to this increase in crime. He has mocked people who feared that you would be seriously harmed by police standing down, and he lost his life.
Dude, do you know how many people I knew at the height of COVID, in the summer of love, when everybody was rampaging through everything and they're ransacking all the streets and all of that shit? How many Hollywood liberals that I knew that were all day long for the previous 5 years ranting and raving about gun rights, who were calling me and other people that I knew on where can we buy guns?
Yep.
Where can we? I have a friend who would never want me to be named, but like a big time celebrity person who I knew, could get guns, right? And everybody was trying to. It doesn't even matter the gender of this person, but they were inundated with the amount of people, because when push comes to shove, it's a conservative is just a liberal mug by reality.
I think this guy actually had a gun. Is that possible in Philly, or is it?
Yeah, no, he said in another Twitter thread that he had a gun and a guy had previously broken into his house and he didn't get the gun. He figured out another way of escalating it, even though the guy was standing in his bedroom or something.
Yeah, this is where the story gets a little deeper. Like on face value, you're like, random violence maybe. But in reality, this guy has had a history with drugs, drug abuse, and like what David, you were just saying, he at some point in April of this year or some other year had woke up and a guy was in his room and he's like, what are you doing here? Some guy he used to know. How'd he get in? I must have given him a key maybe. He didn't even remember giving a guy a key to his house. So this is the guy who at 1:30 in the morning with no sign of a break-in gets shot in his own apartment. Like, who are those people? How did they get in if there's no break-in? And I don't know that the no break-in is definitely confirmed. Did you confirm that or not? I don't know. I just didn't see any signs of a break-in. No one mentioned any kind of breaking and entering. So 1:30 in the morning, guy shot 7 times in his own room, has a history of giving his key out to people and not remembering it. And history of drug
that's just an excuse because it happened and he didn't want to come out and be like, yeah, but conservatives. I got to say, when David Hogg said, when they were getting rid of the mask mandates, and he says, yeah, but I don't want to take it off because then people think I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
Like, these are the people who would rather allow someone to break into their home and kill them than admit conservatives were right.
He actually tweeted that he was ready to die or something like, I guess I'll die then, or something like that.
Who, David Hogg?
No, Josh Kruger.
This guy.
I don't know. I glanced at it earlier. I didn't save the location of the tweet, but if you scroll down his feed, maybe it's there. It's tough to talk about because the guy did just die, so we got to be a little sensitive about the loss of life.
That's the thing, you know. So Mike Cernovich had some tweets out recently about how if Biden wins, he says, have you had the talk? Something about, have you had the talk with your family about how you'll be framed for a crime so they can kill you or whatever? And I'm like, a bit aggressive. I don't completely, I should say I don't disagree with Mike, just a bit aggressive. And my response was, people don't understand what happens to a country when they begin arresting their political opposition and lawyers. So I think there's a normalcy bias. People don't want to believe it. And that's why I like to do the time travel test. Go back, insert X amount of years, and tell people everything that happened today. They won't believe you. You go back 6 years and say Donald Trump will be indicted. They'll go after his lawyers. They'll indict his lawyers. They'll start issuing fines and $200,000 on lawyers who argued on his behalf in the election. People are going to be like, shut up. That'll never happen in this country. Mention January 6th to someone 6-7 years ago, and they're going to be like, oh, shut up. That won't happen. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a viral,
here we are.
The viral video of the mayor of Chicago in 72.
Oh, yeah, we played it on my show today.
He was saying that looters, you shoot looters to kill them, or arsonists, you shoot them to kill, looters, you shoot to maim. And this is just the governor, or the governor.
No, he was the mayor of Chicago. Think about how that city
Daley?
has fallen. No, it was, someone can grab his name. I think he was the mayor in about 72. You guys remember? We'll get it.
Yeah.
But it's a great video. It's like you're watching a competent executive be like, I'll defend the free people of my city, the people who are doing it right, instead of defending the looters and the arsonists and everyone else. And also saying, in essence, we believe we live in a society, to quote George Costanza. Like, we either live in a society or we don't.
But this is why I am optimistic. Look, man.
Yeah, it was Mayor Daley.
It was Mayor Daley?
Yeah, 1968.
Wow.
Because I'm pretty sure, because the Dailies ran Chicago forever. But look, man, when they're aborting their kids, when they're sterilizing their kids, when they would rather...
There'll be none of them left.
They won't, exactly. Yeah. They won't defend themselves. They won't advocate for the defense. And they will advocate for the machine that hates them. I'm just like, if you got a guy who says, no guns, no guns. Oh, someone broke into my house. Don't worry, I still don't need guns. It's like, well, this dude is not likely to have kids. And I'm not, you got to zoom out. It's not about what one person does or doesn't do. It's about what most people do, and even to tiny, tiny degrees. If 50.01% of liberals engage in behaviors that result in them having no kids, they're going to slowly cease to exist, and their ideology will go along with them.
I hope, but communism's been around for a long time.
Yeah, and also if you factor in, like, China using TikTok to brainwash a generation of Americans, it's not as simple as just pure like numbers in terms of who's giving birth. There is an ideological war being waged on children that are converting, right?
I agree, but I do think I still think having kids is 10 to 100 times more impactful than social manipulation. Social manipulation plays a large role, but there's inverse social reaction, right? So libertarians, conservatives, post-liberals coming out and saying no to this stuff in school, no to TikTok, get your kids off social media, homeschool your kids. That counterforce, to a certain degree, will negate the effect of China or whatever social manipulation we're experiencing. You add to that mix, they're literally advocating for things that put their lives in danger or inhibit them from having children, I think in 20 years, you got a 2-to-1 Republican advantage.
I hope you're right, man. How often do you dole out white pills these days?
That I've been saying this thing for a couple of years, and people argue that I'm wrong, and I'm like, because they make the point you made, and I'm like, I agree they're trying to indoctrinate kids, but when you look at what Florida did with the books, saying like, when DeSantis did that press conference where he's like, look at these books, look at what was in these books,
and then cut
Nikki
the feed.
Fried said Ron DeSantis posting butt plug porn, and it's like, he's criticizing you. That right there, as a governor, exposing this and giving them no recourse because all she could do is admit it, that's waking people up. Like, yes, there are a lot of conservatives. It's funny when they come to Timcast IRL studios and they're like, oh, my kid's going to college next. And I'm like, which one? And they're like, oh, NYU. And I'm like, are you insane?
Yeah. No.
Like, do you watch the show you're about to be on?
Maybe University of Chicago. That's pretty much it. Do
you guys
a couple others?
Do you talk publicly about how you guys want to raise the kids?
In terms of schooling?
Yeah, stuff like that.
You know, it's funny. Not really, but I would say just sort of generally speaking, I mean, first off, we're in Florida where we have really some of the best public schools in the United States. And it's ironic because, 20 years ago when Florida was thought of as the Golden Girls, and this is where everyone goes to retire, and there's no income tax, there were bad schools here because older people didn't want to put money towards it, and there just wasn't an income tax in the first place. Now we have basically the best schools in the nation. Just because of my public nature, I don't think we'll send them to public school. But regardless, the idea that you just hand your kid off to some state employee and that they could call your son by the opposite gender name, they can make up a name and then hide it from you. And the whole fucking machine was like, DeSantis is the bad guy for fighting this, is so bananas. Here's
what's crazy is that these children are reportedly experiencing suicidal ideation, and the state says withhold that from the parents.
Yeah.
If the purpose of transition is to reduce suicidal ideation, why would you withhold that information from the parents? It's a lie. It is a lie.
What do you think about like giving kids access to the TikTok, the internet? How are you looking at that?
Well, I thought Vivek's answer at the debate, did you see that, was pretty poor, actually. So they asked him in the debate because he had been talking about banning TikTok for about a year. And then apparently he hung out with Jake Paul, and Jake Paul convinced him to get on TikTok. So Vivek said, well, I want to get young voters, and the Republican Party always loses, so we have to get where they are. But then when I'm in office, I'll ban it, and no one under 16 should be on social media. And it's like, well, first off, who gives the president of the United States the right to say who can be on social media and what age you can be on? That's a really bizarro authoritarian tendency that he said right there. But that's sort of the ends justify the means kind of thing. Like, do you want to use Chinese spyware and encourage people to be on Chinese spyware so that the day you get the power, you can ban the Chinese spyware? So no, I do not. I personally don't have TikTok. I did not want to use it on my show at all. My man Brock over here, my social media guy, he wanted us to be on there. I said, I am not pressuring you at all. I said, if you want a burner phone to put it on and you go ahead. And he did that. But I want nothing to do with it.
Vivek's got it backwards. You don't ban kids from social media, although I think kids shouldn't be on social media.
But that should be up to the parent, obviously.
But it should be that we criminally charge people who post, say, like porn on Twitter. So if you're a person who is on Twitter and you post pornographic material, then it should be Elon Musk and it should be the person who posted it who are criminally charged for posting it.
You're talking about illegal porn or
nope,
porn?
Any.
But wait, you're saying that's how it should be right now?
Yes.
I mean, so you want Elon Musk to be held account for for legal porn that's on the platform?
Yes, I do.
But
so let's put it this way.
So you have a disagreement of just policy with him because he said it's fine.
Right. So imagine you own a bookstore. And that's all it is. It's a bookstore. But you know that a lot of the books in the store are graphic, hardcore pornography, and you allow children in. Guess what's going to happen? Yeah.
Right.
If you have an adult bookstore and you allow children in, the police are going to come and you are going to get in serious trouble.
So you want some basic parental rules around Twitter? I actually don't know I have no idea.
I'm singling out Twitter kind of as it's the shock value to say Elon Musk, right? But the reality is, my question, and we've talked about this quite a bit, how did we get to the point in society where we've decided that we have the internet, which is effectively public streets, and you know what? You might ask your 10-year-old to go run to the store and pick up a thing of some milk, right?
Right.
It's no big deal. But then there's someone standing in the street corner and they're waving around a big picture of adults in hardcore adult activities. The kid sees it, freaks out. Anybody who sees it, they call the police. Guess what the police are going to do? They're going to arrest that guy, and they're going to say you violated a whole bunch of public lewd and lascivious laws, indecent exposure, etc. But the internet, which functions essentially in a similar way, it's a public space where people can post things. There's no repercussions for any of these businesses to allow minor children, the age of 13 and even younger, to access things that would otherwise be illegal to distribute.
So if Twitter had the same regulations related to age that I guess Pornhub has, or something where you have to click something, you'd be okay with that.
You need an ID.
Meaning okay, but you're saying as long as there's some system in place where I just don't know what the deal. I have no recollection when I signed onto Twitter. Do you have to say your... Yeah.
You want to go to an adult bookstore, you walk in and say ID, please. You show them your ID and say, okay, now you're old enough to be in here.
Right.
That's because we don't want kids going into adult bookstores. Twitter should be the same. If you post lewd and lascivious adult activities, should put a blur over the image. Right. And then only people who have verified IDs can view these controlled images.
Right. It's interesting because Elon has a different policy on this than you can't do that on Facebook, right? I haven't been on Facebook in years. I have no freaking clue, but I'm sure you can, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
You could, but it's extremely borderline. So when you're on
Right.
Facebook and Instagram, it's women with wet t-shirts on, and you could pretty much see everything. But therefore, it is not her being naked. It's still somehow allowed.
But you can't,
and
you can't
that's
put
usually
porn.
shown to a lot of people's algorithms.
You can't put porn on Instagram, but you can,
but not explicit. So
There's a lot of tricks they do to get around it.
Yes.
One of the tricks they do is when on Instagram, you know how they do the mosaic where you upload a bunch of pictures and then it makes your feed
it
grid.
like creates the yeah.
So each individual photo is not. But altogether, it's right. Wow. They got the tricks.
Christ.
They got the tricks. But my point is simple. I am not literally saying I believe in the moral absolute position that, we must do these things. I am saying if it is the standard right now to say kids can't drink, kids can't look at porn, you need an ID to enter this establishment, why don't we have those same restrictions? How did the internet come to be that we just assume as a society it should not have these safeguards for children?
Probably because a lot of it was built by 16-year-olds. Like sitting in their room.
I think it was because it was never taken seriously. Because in the early days of the internet, they were just like...
It was the Wild West. Nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Nobody used it.
Yeah.
We're now at the point of ubiquity. The internet is everything. And we've not stopped to ask ourselves, are we okay with creating public highways and public streets where children can get access to graphic murder, snuff, and hardcore porn?
To be honest, I'm okay with the highways being there. We just need to police them properly. Because if you go after the network for something that happens on the network, you'll end up crashing the whole system.
But this is my point. The person who posts it. But the solution there is, I don't think we should ban porn. I think the way Twitter and every platform should work is, if you post it, it is blurred and you can't see it unless you have verified your age.
It would be an interesting conversation
YouTube does
to have
this.
with Elon. Yeah.
YouTube sort of does this, but they don't have any real, YouTube will age restrict certain content. But all you have to do is log in and claim you're a certain age. You don't need an ID.
Or you could shove things up, and still be on YouTube, and that's totally fine.
Well,
but there was a question. There was a particular video that we can't even describe. That's allowed, and YouTube put their stamp of approval on it.
YouTube had videos with millions of hits called "What's in My Bum," where they would show people, and then they'd have to guess what was. And I'm like, this is not
just items, but other individuals. Now, pornography has
other
been
individuals.
Yeah. But I mean, pornography has been weapon.
There were other people up there?
Yes.
What are you saying?
Well, still there.
Like a midget? What are you talking about?
Don't get any ideas here, Rubin. Calm your horses there, okay, sir? Another human being was inside of another. I can't. Family-friendly
we'll
show
save it for the
here.
members only.
We'll save it for the family-friendly show here,
I'm
please.
getting too old for this shit.
But pornography has been weaponized. Militaries have used it against populations. How do you handle that without destroying free speech? I think is something that I think is worth looking into. But I think we should always try to prioritize freedom of speech without violating and destroying and running a fifth generational warfare program on the future of this country. As of course, it's not just TikTok, it's not just Instagram, it's Hollywood, it's corporate America, it's BlackRock, it's the ESG score, it's the banks that are all working in tandem, destroying the children of this country. And I want to agree with you, Tim, but I think when it comes to your kind of white pill moment here, it could go either way, because if we look at the kids of Kellyanne Conway, you look at her daughter, you look at Elon Musk, he has a non-binary child. How in the world did that happen?
Yeah, one of
Why
9
did that
though,
happen?
right?
You could lose your kids to the machine.
You
yeah.
could also lose your kids to the state with CPS being overly aggressive and going after parents and also abusing and hurting children in other unspeakable ways. So I think the fight is there. How do you handle it without giving the government more authority over you? I think is the question that I want answered.
Well, I think, Tim, without belaboring the point, I don't think you really want to go into all of the companies and force them to do all sorts of things. But it sounds like to me you want at least the internet service providers to have a little more control over things, right? Because Elon is running a private company. So to me, he can do what my personal belief is he can do what he wants with it.
No, I disagree.
Yeah, you don't think he can do what he wants with it?
No, I think
No, if he's okay, go ahead.
Like,
I don't
you
want
wanna
to.
open a bar?
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
you can't sell
Yeah.
booze to 13-year-olds at a bar.
No. Within the confines of the law.
Right.
Right. I think
And
as long as
so-
he's within the confines of the law,
and
and
he's not.
that's where we're getting, I guess.
He's not.
Well, then
It is illegal to run a business that delivers pornographic materials to children. Elon Musk is doing that.
I guess under the way you're saying it.
I think
Well,
because
it's not under the way I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like
No, I just don't. No, I'll take your word for it. I just
Yeah.
don't know exactly what the sign-up process is on all of that stuff. But
They-
so I believe what you're saying. Yeah,
I think because you need a bank account.
I signed on it 12 years ago. I have no idea.
Any
That's
internet
what I'm
access,
saying.
you need to have a bank account. A kid can't get internet access.
that's not true.
No.
I don't.
Well, you're talking about Twitter itself, just a service that is quote
Right.
unquote free.
You can't, like, the fact that these platforms exist and outright say you have to be at least 13 years old to use it means, okay, fine. Your parents can drive a kid. A kid can't get to the adult bookstore because it's 10 miles away. So his parents drive him there, but then they say...
Yeah, they drop him off around the corner. They don't know what he's doing, and then he
and
goes
the
around
kid
the corner
goes into an
the
adult
store.
bookstore, and there is Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk being like, hey, you're 13, you're good to look at all this stuff. Don't worry about it. I don't understand how that is.
Got to have sensitive filters, but it's hard to make sure that they always work. And like to destroy the network because one of them got through is a risky problem.
Is the argument that we've come to a point in society where we decided that porn should be available to children? Is that the argument?
No, that's not my argument.
No. I mean, my point is, like, no one will disagree.
Right.
It is a fact. If you go to an adult bookstore, they say you need an ID to come in. Otherwise, we'll be breaking the law.
Yeah.
The internet quite literally has porn websites. And kids can go to them without any restrictions. And when laws were proposed to require IDs for porn websites, these porn websites said no. They were like, "How dare you?" Because a lot of these companies that run ads, I bet a lot of these kids, a lot of their views come from children. The joke I made on Twitter is when you're on the internet, no one knows you're 14, because a lot of these politicians, like you'll see insert politician arguing with someone. I'm like, you're 40 and that person you're responding to is probably 14.
Yeah.
But how many of these businesses get their money off of viewership, not direct pay, and like they're running weird ads or whatever, and those kids generate ads? So my point is simply this. Either we agree that we have never allowed children to go to adult bookstores, and we must maintain that same standard in all areas of the public, which means Twitter must immediately restrict this stuff, or we agree that, you know what, we've evolved as a society, we now think children should have access to adult material.
What do you think about erotic text? There's like erotic novels and
Well, then
stuff.
we also have to hold
Same
Facebook
thing.
accountable because a lot of children use Facebook and they send explicit photos of each other over that platform as well. So if we're going to go after this, we have to go after Mark Zuckerberg as well if we're going to be implementing those laws as well. So another aspect to really kind of carefully unravel all of this is also just what happened with Twitter a couple months ago. After Elon Musk took it over, he came out and we found out through the Twitter files that there was even a situation where a child was hurt in very unspeakable ways that we can't mention here on this particular broadcast. And that incident was broadcasted on Twitter. Twitter knew for about 2 weeks that this person was a child, was hurt, and the videos of them being hurt in adult ways was being shared on their platform. Twitter decided not to do anything about it.
Yeah, wasn't it-
Not even intervene.
The victim was demanding the removal.
And demanding
Yeah.
that their private photos and videos of them being hurt be taken down. Twitter said, no, we're not going to do that.
One thing I can say in sort of Elon's defense related to that sort of thing, not to your sort of philosophical point, is that when he got there, and having met him a couple times now and talked about this stuff, there are so many bad people still at that company, and he's working to get rid of them, and that there were systems in place to do all of the awful things. Twitter was basically, remember when Jack Dorsey tweeted that we don't shadow ban? I mean, he actually testified under oath they don't shadow ban. I went to Twitter and I sat with programmers with like 10 computers in front of me showing me the entire system where where the entire thing was designed to shadow ban.
Yep.
It wasn't that they didn't shadow ban. Every keyword that they used to shadow ban, every phrase. I was on like 20. I should have asked them about your account. Maybe I can try. They had crazy lists of all sorts of people. If you were suspended once, you could be shadow banned in a certain way. If you said this word, you could be shadow banned another way. So there was already such a crazy system in there that I would say, in Elon's defense, you have to give him a little chance to fix some of this stuff. So like the child porn thing, it's like people knew there was child porn on there and nobody cared. Then Elon took over, and what happened the next day? The Twitter has a major child porn problem. And I forget who it was. Maybe it was Cernovich. Somebody tweeted, it's interesting. All these articles are popping up about child porn on Twitter. None of the authors who wrote these articles as mainstream pieces had ever written about it before Elon.
Right.
So the point is, there's a system in place. The guy's trying to fight it. I would give him a little grace on some of that.
No. My point is not literally that we should storm into Twitter's office right now. My point is the hypocrisy of saying, like the conservative values of don't let kids go to adult bookstores and bars, but then ignoring the issue of the internet.
I guess the best thing you can do as a parent, and it's probably the challenge for every parent, is how do you, in a time when your kid is going to be walking around with this freaking thing,
don't give them one.
Right, so that's the challenge, and then you want to be the one parent that doesn't let the kid have it, and all that shit. No, I get it. It's easy. It's easy to say, and maybe one day, if you're a parent, you'll have that challenge put in front of you, and I will, and all of us will, maybe. Like that's the thing. It's easy to say it, but then people succumb to it.
My attitude is we see these videos that went viral where the trans high school student or middle school student is beating the girls up.
Oh yeah,
Mike Cernovich, I think, had a good point where he said, if you homeschool your kids, they'll be socially maladjusted, right? Making the point that they say, don't homeschool your kids because then they won't understand social behaviors and everything. And it's like, if you look at modern public schooling and how kids are behaving, you don't want your kids emulating that. There's a viral video showing children during World War II who are like 9 years old and they sounded like they were 50. It's like a little kid and he's like, well, I quite think it's interesting Hitler's move and it's like, is it a child? It's because these kids were raised by adults.
Yeah.
Kids today are raised by kids.
And they're drugged.
They're raised by
drugged.
The most important point though is that kids today are raised by other kids. So the way I described it is I had 3 roommates once that were all from Europe, France, Italy, and Spain. And they all spoke English as a second language. And they all hung out with each other as these like exchange students. So when they spoke with each other in English, they made their own colloquial English because it was a second language to them. When they tried talking to you, you'd be like, what? Like, what is that you just said?
Right.
They could make up words. They get something wrong. They think bird is board. And he says, board, the board in the sky. And then the other guy who's French is like, oh, a board. Then they start talking to you about boards that are all over the place. They're eating and pooping. And you're like, what's a board? What are you talking about? They made a mistake, reinforced it amongst each other. Kids do this all the time. You put your kid in a grade school. The kids don't care about the teachers. The kids aren't learning from the teachers. The teachers are not giving kids behaviors to emulate. The teachers are saying, read page 7, start. And then the kids go and socialize with other kids when they should be socializing with older people who are working. This is one of the biggest problems we have right now. Conservatives should consider that, and I think that's why homeschooling is so important.
Yeah, homeschooling,
Absolutely.
Charter schools, blow up the Department of Education, get rid of you could probably eliminate a quarter of our public schools and put that money elsewhere. You could fund students, not systems, all of the stuff.
Well, it's a Rockefeller education system that's really an indoctrination system that all needs to go, in my opinion. But we do live in a very strange world where children can't get tattoos, they can't buy pay-per-view, but they could chop off their reproductive organs and they could watch online content. That really doesn't make sense. And we do see online content weaponized. It is destroying children. It is destroying families. It is destroying relationships. It is having a severe effect where people are not having enough children. We're having a huge population crash that does deserve to be addressed very seriously. We should protect the children, but at the same time, I do not want a digital identification government federal system watching and telling me what I can and cannot do. So I think there's a fine line between the two. I think personal responsibility, homeschooling children, raising your children without a cell phone, and teaching them that there is a lot of very bad people out there that prey on their weaknesses, that psychologically lie to them and abuse them and hurt them in many ways where it's done subconsciously, I think is something that's going to be very tough, but something that's needed more than ever. And as a parent, you are responsible for your child and no one else is.
Look, you can be lazy and you can be a not great parent in a time when the system basically works. But in a time when the system doesn't work, and that's obviously where we're at a certainly at a national level, you just don't have that luxury anymore, and you have to get involved one way or another.
Do you think you'll attempt to prevent the kids from getting cell phones So
I'm going to try to push it as late. I agree with Tim in spirit on that. Like the answer would be no. I'm going to keep them off this thing forever. But like you're going to figure it. I can tell you now. Like they're only one. I got 2 kids who are 1. We don't have any TV on ever. But every now and again, if we need a freaking break for 5 minutes, we put on Miss Rachel on YouTube, and she's doing better numbers than Timcast. This woman's killing it, okay? Now, she's like the one that they say you could have them watch, and she's not breaking their brain.
Just be careful for the auto.
Well, no.
Right.
So the what might auto play next? Sometimes I find, an ad will kick in the middle, and it's an ad about like a shooting somewhere or something.
Wow.
Like there's all sorts of weird things related to that. Now, I don't have YouTube Kids, I don't think, so I'm doing it on the regular YouTube or whatever. But the point is, all of that, it's all easy to say, and the best you can do is the best you can do.
Right, but Dave, you don't got to worry about cell phones. Right, by the time
it's going to be lodged in their brain.
Exactly, they're going to be Neuralink, man.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, but Dad, John at school's got the Neuralink. I want the Neuralink to play video games.
Print something out of their ass.
Are you going to get the neural link?
Yeah, enough.
No,
just like a little bit of quiet.
Do you think you'd get it?
I mean, again, it's one of those things. It's like we can all say no to all these things. We can all say, boy, the Matrix was a warning, and I don't want to be in Ready Player One. But then it all comes, and then a huge swath of people do it, and then it becomes ubiquitous, and everyone starts doing it. And then, yes, some people will kind of not do it.
You'll have no choice.
I'm thinking if your kid does
or they'll force you on, because if you're not in the system, they will view you as a terrorist.
It's not that. It's not that extreme. It's going to be you're going to go to the new Taco Bell kiosk, and they're going to say, "Oh, we got rid of touch interface. It's on neural interface now." And they'll be like, "Well, nobody uses touch interface anymore." You're going to be like, "So how do I use the kiosk?" "Well, do you have a Neuralink?" Like, "No, that's all we do."
Have you seen the hand thing at Whole Foods?
Yes.
They have it already. I saw it for the first time
when
2
we were
weeks ago,
flying out here in the airport at DCA, they had an Amazon store. And it was walk in and take whatever you want. And you walk up, you scan your hand, walk in, take whatever you want, and you walk out. And I was like, no thanks.
Apartment buildings have that right now, where if you want to get to your floor, you have to give them a palm print, and then you get
this
to your floor in the
leads
elevator.
to, I mean, this is like Minority Report, where Will Smith,
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise has to take the guy's eye to get through the thing. Like, that's where this will all lead. We're going to be chopping off people's hands so you could buy a fucking what do they sell at Taco Bell now?
Gordita Supreme.
Cheesy Gordita Crunch.
Okay, thank you. It's been a while.
This is exactly why
Seed oil crunch.
with what you're saying, Luke, that I don't like the security state overlooking and banning porn and restricting this, because if someone gets a hold of that apparatus and is like, you know what, showing elbows is pornography, ban them all. Like, that could happen if that infrastructure gets built.
The individual needs to decide what is right for them, and clearly there is a war against them that is destroying them in many different ways. How do you have that fine balance? I think we have to preach personal responsibility, but we also have to live it ourselves. So good luck raising children. It's not going to be easy. A lot of people are having a lot of problems, so best of luck to you. As of course, we are already mind controlled.
We are going to go to
little
Super
devices.
Chats. We're going to go to Super Chats and take your questions. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show, and head over to timcast.com. Click Join Us, become a member. Members only show will be kicking off in about 25 minutes. And we've got some good spicy stuff to talk about.
Tim, can I do a 10-second fact check? Because I got the numbers that we were talking about before. With the day DeSantis became governor, Democrats had 300,000 more registered voters in Florida. Republicans now have 500,000 more. So it's an
800,000 swing.
Do you know how many of those were people that switched parties versus how many people immigrated and emigrated?
It's a great question. I don't know that.
But I would say we know nationally it is a large number.
Switches?
We just had the Dallas mayor. I think it was Dallas, right?
The Dallas mayor.
Was it Dallas?
No, it was Dallas.
Yeah.
It was Dallas. That's just switch
Huge.
from Democrat to Republican. Yeah.
All right, let's grab some Super Chats. We got Culture Abduction says first, and any update. Oh, first, congratulations. You are the first Super Chat. Any updates on the Timcast app for Apple? No. I'm looking to see if anybody in here, who knows?
Looking at the dog?
You're not seeing as anyone from the crew is here. They are not here. It's in review. Apple is really hard to get.
Yeah.
So, all right. What else do we have? Draxus Storm Shadow says every ballot should have a tear-off tab with serial number on it. You should be able to take your serial number home and check a website to verify your vote was recorded properly, or a receipt. Right? They don't do that. A lot of places do receipts. It's a state issue though, so I certainly agree. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, imagine being so dumb you think a fire alarm is a door handle. Dems have gotten so used to lying it comes naturally these days. Also, why do they care even about January 6th? It was just a prank, bro. I do love that idea that Bowman, no, come on. no one really believes that he thought it opened the door.
You never know. I mean, the IQs have been dropping.
I
in the
know.
United
Don't put
States,
anything
so-
over the stupidity of the American people.
I suppose Hanlon's razor, right? Never
Right,
attribute to
right.
malice, which could be explained by stupidity.
Although
but
there's definitely some malice involved here. so,
right?
you know.
Did he? You know, the question is, was he trying to shut down the vote or delay it? Either way, he should get a criminal charge for pulling a fire alarm, right?
Something. At least an
Right.
acknowledgement.
Moot point. You
Fire
can't break the
alarm.
law
Does
this
whether
open
you-
the door?
Yeah.
I don't think a judge would buy it. I
Yeah.
think a judge would be like, nice. Imagine a dude commits a crime. Imagine
Yeah.
a kid in school
Does
goes
the
to the judge
trigger
and says,
make the bullet
I thought
go
I opened
out?
the door, Your Honor. He's like, nice try.
Right.
Bangs the gavel. All right. Fix Bayonet says Matt Gaetz should draft a bill as a joke that fully funds Ukraine if the Democrats drop all prosecutions of Donald Trump. Get Peter Zeihan on to talk about graphene and hydrogen fuel cells.
Oh, I like that guy. I didn't know he knew about that stuff. Let's do it.
All right. What is this? Amasong says, whatever happened to Free Tibet?
Yeah.
I have
good
no idea.
question. I saw them everywhere.
What's going on
And
in
now
Tibet?
They're not existing.
I know there's been Chinese oppression.
Yeah,
at least I've
it's
heard.
actually just completely fallen off the map.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
Nobody cares anymore?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I've been very busy at work.
yeah. See, we just out of sight, out of mind.
It's inflation. I don't know what to say.
Jeffrey Kovar says, did you guys see the U.S. debt clock?
Yes,
Matthew
yep.
2112 was posted dead center on the website earlier. Jesus is Lord. God bless Timcast and crew. Was that like a big deal?
Wait, what?
U.S. Debt Clock it's usdebtclock.org.
And
It's a great website.
And they posted front
Real-time
and center,
debt.
Jesus is Lord or
At
something?
least I saw a screenshot that said that. I don't know if it was real. It looked real. but was a
Google it. What do you
screenshot.
find?
I'm going there now. I think a lot of people are
But
going
why is
there
it?
right
Why
now.
is that? It's a .gov website?
No, .org.
Right. That's all, it's a private website.
Yeah, it's somebody.
Right.
And it looks like they've taken it down.
Oh,
Well, just search the news. Don't search the actual website.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it. I'll look for it.
But I mean, if people report on it, I guess. Here we go. Shane H. Wilder says there are too many things slipped into omnibus bills. MNSB 2995 had a provision in the 909-page omnibus that legalized abortion up to birth, negated life-saving care for born-alive infants, and ended informed consent. What? What was that? Was that the recent one? Because how would that? Like, how does that get through? That was what I was saying. They should have just, like, when the omnibus is being made, be like, oh yeah, just slide in one sheet of paper that says like Donald Trump is president.
right, because nobody reads that
Right.
shit anyway. The simplest way, if any of them wanted to fix anything, and this clearly would never happen, you want to solve something, the Republicans, and you want to get votes from a certain amount of people, how about we cut taxes 25% on everybody, and we cut the entire federal budget 25% on everybody, and we cut foreign aid, like literally 25% across the board. And I'm sorry, some post office workers, I guess, are going to have to go home, and some other people, but how about we just let people have more of their money? Isn't that the one that they never do, the one that's the most obvious one? How about you just
Stop spending money that you don't have.
Just stop taking so much money from people, and then we'll figure it out. But that's the one that they can't quite get.
Let's see what we got. Lakuva. Tim, could you ask the guys at Public Square about a feature to show content creators and social media users who share our values? That is a very, very good idea. I think they mentioned something about that, right? I don't know. We'll bring it up to them. That would be really great. I think there was talk of some social component as well, and there should be. Yeah, a way to interact with people. Obviously, I think there's reviews and comments already, so expanding that would be great. But I think you might be able to just apply, to be honest. If you run a business that produces something, you probably should be able to sign up for Public Square.
That's what I did. I had to fill out an application
For We Are Change?
for wearechange.shop for my vitamins.
Oh, yeah.
I put them on there, and
Oh, so it's
But he means like...
I have American-made products.
But they mean you personally for your YouTube channel.
Huh.
I think that's a good idea, and I think they
Yeah.
should do that.
Yeah.
So you can find content creators who agree with American values. I like Public Square, guys. Download that app. It's an excellent tool for winning the culture war. Where are we at? What is this? JJ Rhodes, has anybody ever heard of the Zide Door Church? Place is Wilding. What is that?
No.
No idea, but thank you for the super chat. Leaf Hagen says in a 60 Minutes interview yesterday, Michael Lewis just revealed that SBF tried paying Trump $5 billion not to run in 2024. That true?
Well,
Really?
I heard that he made an offer for Trump not to run, and that they received a number that might have been $5 billion. They don't know who they received the number from. If it was from Trump directly, from someone he knew, if it was even a real offer, no one knows.
But if you're Trump,
Something doesn't
you
sound right
obviously
about that,
think
but-
you're getting set up here.
Yeah,
You're obviously-
right.
you're like,
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'll happen is you'll say yes, and then they'll publish a leaked message saying Trump took a payoff.
For $5 billion.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like really, really federally dangerous. Like I would say illegal. Anyway, I don't want to go too deep on that, but
it's
to
what they do.
Bribe
It's what they. It happens every day in Washington D.C. Ian, every single day.
All right, Tina Collette says, please explain how if we can't afford to fund our own country, how and why should we fund someone else's country? Actually, I have I can answer this for you. The idea is, as the BRICS nations attempt to supplant the petrodollar with the yuan, or now they're doing their own BRICS currency, the U.S. needs to maintain confidence in the U.S. dollar. And how do they do that? By giving it away. Seriously. The reason why they give money for like Pakistani gender studies is so that Pakistan is looking at a pile of cash. China comes over and says, hey, use ours instead. And they're like, look, if we keep using the U.S. dollars, we get free money. We get to be rich.
These idiots keep printing it.
Yeah. So the way it works is you get ripped off as a regular working class person. The elites who run various countries agree to use the petrodollar, which maintains U.S. petrodollar supremacy. And that's why we're funding the war in Ukraine and giving money away.
Well,
there you go. Yeah, right. I agree with the MAGA method. I think that's a better way to do it. You secure your borders, you bring manufacturing back, you bolster the U.S. economy, and then you win through trade means. And people are inspired to use your currency because your currency means something in this country. So what's the U.S. dollar good for? Coming to America is awesome, and I want dollars to spend. So people will buy dollars from you instead of getting them for free. But the U.S. method is give them the money, tell them to use it, they'll get to be rich, and if they don't, we'll come and remove their president. That's the current method. Not a big fan of that one. All right. Deus Flex says, when is Stick Six and Amber coming on the show? Bring him on before he leaves the States again. I have no idea. I think we're trying to make it work. It's just, yeah. Do we have a date for him? No? Yeah, okay. I don't know.
We were supposed to do that show in upstate New York a long, long time ago. It was me, you. We were driving up. I think we were going to Canada. Weren't we supposed to meet up with him in upstate New York?
I have no idea.
That was a long, long time ago.
Styx was one of the first people to use Minds, like celebrity, well-known video bloggers. That dude's tapped in.
Let's grab some more super chats. John Jones says, taking the new Brightline train from Orlando to come see you guys in Vice City. Can't wait for a fun time. Oh, it's going to be so amazing. Yeah.
How amazing that Florida built the Brightline. So now you can go from Orlando all the way down here to Miami. They're going to build another branch that's going to go from, I think, Orlando to Tampa.
What
basically, you're going to, it's a train. High-speed train. Yeah.
Wow.
And they did it in basically no time. It's clean. It's new. It just launched. It just launched last week. I was going to take it yesterday, coming back from Orlando, but something popped up.
But this is funny. All the things the leftists demanded, it's Trump and it's DeSantis who have brought about, like, when they've talked about, we want a 4-day work week, we want better wages, we want health care. Under Trump in 2019, there were all these news stories about fast food chains reducing the hours, increasing the pay, and giving benefits. And I'm like, well, the Republican president gave it to you. Now you've got all the leftists being like, where's the high-speed rail? It's like, well, in Florida.
It's not in California, which how much did they put into that freaking thing? Like something like $3 billion.
I think they spent the same amount of money building the rail here as they did putting up suicide nets around the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. I think it's
That's probably true. That was $500 million, I think.
Yeah, and I think we spent the same amount building here in Florida, the Orlando to Miami
I read
rail train.
$4 billion. Was that the number?
$4 billion.
Yep.
$3 to $4 billion.
Probably cheaper.
I want to know what the California one has cost. I'm going to look that up.
And they don't have it.
They need it.
Yeah, right.
They don't have it. And they started before it. Yeah.
They have a Greyhound.
Yeah.
Well, at least. All right. Antipathy says, I agree with a Sunday show caller that I would like to see a live show of Timcast on Rumble. You had your excuses, and I can't say that they aren't valid, but why not Solidarity stream? Solidarity is not as important as victory, I guess. I don't know. Solidarity matters in a lot of ways, but that's like saying leave the battlefield so you can go celebrate with people who are no longer on it.
Yeah, you could think of it as a sort of decentralization, because if something happens to Rumble, something happens to Rumble.
But we put all of our clips on Rumble. We use Rumble infrastructure for Timcast.com. We use Parallel Economy for our Timcast memberships. It is all Rumble Cloud. And then we just have the live show on YouTube because it's consistently the biggest every night. And we want to get access to the younger generations that use YouTube and be in the central battlefield.
By the way, we didn't talk about this tonight. Do you guys hear this Canadian legislation they just jammed through where they want to police any network that has any kind of What's the terminology? Do you know the word?
Well, basically anyone who creates a YouTube channel. I mean, that's where it's really going, is going to have to register with the Canadian government. And then God only knows once you register with them, what they can do to you to shut you down.
Europe is passing similar legislation, but CNBC has a very interesting article about California's high-speed rail, and they're reporting that it's running out of money, and for 15 years that it's being built, there hasn't been a single mile of track laid from the rail in California.
If people are evil.
And Gavin Newsom's going to be president.
That's
what a
how
world.
corrupt.
What a world.
Yeah, that's how corrupt the state
Here's
is.
what you got to watch out for, Dave. You see what happens is California takes off building this big empire, this entertainment industry, and they went there originally to get away from the oppression and the taxation. They said, we're going to go to the middle of nowhere where there's nothing and do our own thing. That's typically how pioneers do it. Then once they got success and wealth, everyone else started crowding around saying, gimme. Florida is starting to do real well. Sooner or later, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to want to move in. They're going to say, gimme that.
No, that's true. That what a great challenge that is. So now we have to be better than, say, California was once it California was there was a guy named Ronald Reagan who was the governor of California, right? Like there was a California conservative.
I think 1992 was the last one.
That sounds about no, because Schwarzenegger was a Republican.
Oh no, but I'm thinking presidential.
But anyway, point is, yes, it's a challenge and it's a function of success, right? Like good times create weak men, and you guys know the thing. So it's like Florida will have that challenge. More people will come here, and then you have to work harder to defend those rights and defend the good life, basically.
Yeah. Triton54 says a Luke per day keeps the Seamus away.
Damn right. But we don't want that dirty potato man anywhere near here.
Well, he's on his way over.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Okay, good. wait. You mean you're
He's
kidding
coming.
Me? No.
He's coming
no
to
way.
hang.
He's coming for you.
He's coming.
He's not welcome here.
He's coming.
Yes, he is.
No, he's
We've
not.
invited him.
I'll deal with the potato. I'll deal with the potato man later.
He called us and he was like, "I've got potatoes for Luke," and I was like, "Come on, man."
He messaged me too. He was like, let's finally do the show. We were supposed to do it. I'm like, uh-huh. I literally just texted him.
What?
We were supposed to do a show together, and then he ditched on me last minute.
Oh,
Sounds like Seamus.
So very disappointed in the potato
but
man.
they were doing the potato festival.
Just kidding, Seamus.
No, there was no potato festival. I would have excused him doing a potato festival for not doing a show with me together, but that's a different issue. Again,
Well, he'll be here.
expect some fireworks.
Seamus Coughlin coming in hot.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got? What is this? Corey USMC says, working on my birthday, but I have some homegrown chicken tenders and Timcast IRL. Happy birthday. And that sounds amazing. Homegrown chicken tenders. Yeah, amazing. I've got a video I recorded today about a rooster named Andre. About what it means to be a man. Yeah.
Andre gave it all.
Andre, I tweeted about this. He was a rooster who sacrificed himself fighting off a raccoon to save his hens.
How many you got now?
Too many.
30? 40?
More than that. But at two different locations now, so probably I think 90.
Do you guys have chickens?
We had 3 backyard chickens. I had Blanche Featherow, Princess Leia, and who was my third chicken? Is it Kim Kardashian or they were? We nailed it with the names.
We have Margaret Hatcher.
That's good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Feather Locklear. That was another one.
We just gave only the original chickens that we got. Man, it's crazy. We got 7, and now we have an obscene amount. Roberto, the original rooster, his son died. Roberto had a heart attack and died suddenly.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened. But he has Roberto Jr. had several kids, so now we have RB3, Roberto Jr. Roberto the third. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's unfortunate because
You're going
Roberto.
to let them use phones or what?
No.
Too young?
In fact, we're actually quite concerned they are making more of themselves and would like them to stop, but they've started doing that. We did incubate a bunch, but now they've started taking it upon themselves to make more of themselves, and we're not too fond of that because there's
Life finds a way, dude.
too many.
Jurassic Park. There's
I
nothing
mean, it
you
is
can
really
do.
amazing when one day you go in there and you hear cheeping, and then there's a chicken sitting there all flat and looking at you and yelling at you, and there's babies. It's wonderful. And then they walk around, they follow the mom, and they're eating. It's
You
fun.
do know what happens to an egg under the right circumstances.
That's absolutely,
It can
yes.
become a chicken. It's
That's
bananas.
It does.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And when you can eat them. You see at this period where you can eat them in the egg, or you got to wait, 9 months after the egg. But there's that period where you can't.
Some people eat the raw baby chicken. Not raw. I don't know why I
No,
said
you
raw.
ferment it. They take the egg when the chick's
it's-
fully developed. They vinegar it and then bury it in the ground and then wait a month and then eat it rotten or whatever.
Baloo, yeah. In the Philippines, they
What
do
is it
all the
called?
time.
Baloo?
Yep.
Baloo.
Baloo, yep.
Yeah, but I was reading something about people in the Arctic Circle eat a lot of rotten meat because the meat itself doesn't have enough nutrients, but the bacteria festers on it and produces more of the things you need, and then you eat it rotten. It's better for you. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But that's something to do with why they do stuff like that. Here we go. What is this one? Lurch says BDS is banned in government work, hardly 1A friendly. Oh, that's in Florida, right? What was the deal with that?
I think there was a banning of criticism of Israel on college campuses, which
I think it's like an oversimplification of what it actually was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But there was that is very troubling legislation. There also is red flag.
Well, I don't
laws.
think it was criticism of Israel. I think it was companies that were singling out Israel, that they
boycotting
were doing
Israel.
Yeah.
So yeah. But still, to me, I don't like that. I don't like the red flag laws. I think we should also criticize the state and try to make it as best as we can.
All right. Dick Dickerson says, sorry, Luke, Florida isn't the Alamo. My free state of Missouri does more for freedom.
I don't know about that.
Moving to
Maybe we don't pay enough attention to Missouri. Yeah. I could concede that. You don't talk about Missouri.
Yeah, I don't know about that. They arrested the McCloskeys.
Yep.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Yeah. And St. Louis.
Yep.
And then he ran for Senate. I guess that didn't work out.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. All right. Dinner Mint says, hey, Tim, I love your show. I work for a company that will be starting a coffee and soda shop in Arizona. I know the owner very well. It's possible for me to connect you through Discord. Yes, by all means. And, a couple of things we want to do. Obviously, we're getting started with the launching the first coffee shop, then setting up the corporation and doing all the paperwork to properly franchise it. But we also want to distribute. We could have, stores carry Cash Brew coffee and, whatever. If not, setting up your own when we are able to. There we go. Let's grab some more super chats. What is this? Someone yelling about Luke? I don't know what they're saying. They're just saying, I just joined Luke. Hi, it's me. Not that it means anything. Hi, Ian.
Hi.
All right, Ryan Job. Thanks for the super chat.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Steven says, Madison Cawthorn exposed Kevin McCarthy 2 years ago, and look what they did to him. Really, what did he do with McCarthy?
With McCarthy? I don't know. I remember he did that whole thing about it. They're all having coked up orgies. But
is that what he's talking about?
But I don't know that he mentioned McCarthy specifically.
Yeah.
I want to talk to Kevin because you've said you've interviewed him a couple times. Gives me hope because I get the vibe of the Trudeau vibe from him lately. Like he's talking like this.
Oh, his affect's a little bizarrely soft
California.
or something. But I could tell you, it's a little bit of Cali. From the way, from interviewing him, my gut sense with him is he's just trying on the margins. It's just not the most brave thing, but he thinks he's trying to do something. I don't think when people are just like, he's just an evil sellout. I just think it's too easy to do that. The guy from what I could tell, he kind of wants to live in the same country we all want to live. He's trying to do what he can on the margins. Maybe it's not good enough. Maybe it's completely ineffectual, but I don't think he's the worst of the worst in that sense.
What do we got? Steve Wanamaker says, can we discuss the fact that all Chase debit cards aren't working and online accounts are not showing balances? I don't understand how this isn't a bigger story. People are stuck on grocery store lines. For real? Is that happening right now?
I have not.
I haven't heard it. I haven't seen it.
I don't use Chase.
Yeah.
They just had to pay a fine over helping Epstein. Was that who that was?
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe I
There's
won't.
no money left.
Maybe I won't use that bank anymore and I'll avoid,
Wouldn't that be something, though, if that's actually a story and none of us have heard of it?
And they also punished a lot of people for their political beliefs and expressions, and they shut down people's bank
They've
accounts.
shut down some bank accounts,
don't bank with JP Morgan and Chase if you don't have to.
This is a Chase Bank customers report account glitches again from 7 hours ago, but this is thinkadvisor.com. Not sure.
Interesting. Clint Torres says, howdy, people. Sorry I'm late, but I got stuck in my zipper. Uh-oh. Ian, looking good, bro. Luke, a true Florida man, has a mullet, but Mr. Dave gets a pass because he's too stylish for that stuff. Mr. Dave, can I please get I agree?
I agree.
Well, Seamus will be here.
It's been a long time. Wait, what was it? Freedom Tunes, right? That's the Freedom Tunes guy.
Yeah, that's Seamus.
That was a long time ago. What a world. What a world.
Are you less agreeable now?
I think so. I'd like to think so. I didn't even think I was that agreeable then. It was just one of those things that just became a thing, I was listening to people talk.
But it wasn't real. And what Seamus said was, it was just one time. I think what he said was he heard you say, I agree, and thought you said it in an interesting way. Yeah. So he wanted to say it a lot.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah,
you know what's funny?
Like
people, when that thing first went crazy, people were like, Dave, are you upset? And I was like, are you crazy? Like first off, I love all these people. This thing is about my show. It means that we've done something, even if it's partly partly making fun of me, or they think I'm too soft of an interviewer or whatever. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, it's great. I did some other thing with him after that. I forget what it was, actually.
If Seamus made a joke about Rick Williams, who said, "That's my mom," nobody would click it, nobody would care, and they'd be like, what is this? The fact that everybody knew you and understood the references.
I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if people tell you a lot, but you kicked the door open on this stuff like early. Like 2017, you, Peterson, Brett, Weinstein, like the IDW, whatever has happened in drama and crap, like you guys fucking grabbed it and shredded it.
I'll tell you, I spoke to Brett Weinstein while driving over here today. I'm as good as ever with JP. I'm going to do his art conference in London at the end of the month. A few of the guys have stayed sane. You know, Sam Harris kind of went off the deep end, and some of the others kind of lost it. But yeah, I mean, I was just kind of early on trying to make sense. We have no people trying to make sense, and that's all I was really trying to do. And I guess now we're in a major sense deficit, so it's come around.
Thomas TJG says, I'm in California. They allow them to vote. There are areas where they hand out CA IDs and phones, allowing them to register to vote. Send journalists in Hemet and Adelanto area. You'll find them real quick. Just drive around.
You know,
okay.
You remember Colin Moriarty? Do you know Colin? Yeah, Colin, he moved to Virginia, got the hell out of Cali, and he was getting, I think, for several years, voter ID, to vote. Ballots in Virginia to vote in California. Like, how much more do you need to know? They're literally sending them out of state for people who have left California.
Yep.
Like crazy.
Yep. There was that famous, it was that Fox News story where a dude was from, I think, what is he, from Tennessee or from Arizona? He was like from Tennessee in Arizona, and then they sent a mail-in vote to his house, or they claimed he voted. He was like, I'm not there. I'm in college. I'm states away. Makes you wonder, man. Makes you wonder.
Can I read one?
Yes.
The McGloon code says, Dave and Tim, if you each buy a new chicken, you could name them Tim Poultry and Dave Rubin.
Rubin.
I'm gonna get chickens when I get chickens. Those will be the first.
That's pretty good.
My chickens when I get them.
That's pretty good.
That's got to be a rooster. You got to be two roosters.
Yeah, that's all right.
Now it's trendy to change genders.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Roosters actually don't really fight. It's like a myth. So we've got Cocktown.
I was going to say, there's a cock joke here. Go for it.
Well, it's just we got Chicken City and we got Cocktown. Cocktown is where we put all the extra roosters because I want to eat them, but my brother doesn't want to eat them, so we just don't. But they do fight sometimes, but mostly just get along. It's when if you take a bunch of roosters and put a girl in there, then they fight to the death.
Just like real life.
I don't know that they still do it, but like that collection of losers that was always making videos about me and you, they're gonna totally grab that one. Tim Pool wants to eat in Cocktown or whatever. Yeah. Like,
well, I mean,
dine in only.
I'm waiting to make a joke here.
I welcome them to do it. In Times Square, we put up a 95-foot tall picture of my cock on one of the biggest,
beautiful
Roberto
cock.
Jr.
Yes, no, I'm familiar with the internet. Yeah.
We really did put Roberto Jr. on a 95-foot tall billboard in Times Square.
And you want to ban that shit on Twitter? Really makes you
It's a rooster.
Yes,
Dave.
I got it.
I don't want to ban roosters. In fact, I strongly encourage people to get more roosters. In fact, I think people should tell the story of Andre the Rooster to their children to inspire them to be courageous and to understand the value of sacrifice. That's right. Yeah. But that video I recorded earlier today is going to be up on Friday, and nice. It's how to be a man. You got to learn from a rooster. All right. The McGlone code says, Tim or Dave, here's a pair of chicken names for you. John Lenhen and Yolko Ono.
It's hard to follow the other one because it was personalized,
Yeah. Pony Up says, get Colin Moriarty on the show. I think we were trying to book him a while ago. We just never did. Well, yeah. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com. Click join us. The members only show is going to be good fun, and that will be up in a few minutes, so we'll definitely want to see you there. You'll also get to access to our Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals and even submit questions and call into the show and talk to us. So definitely do that. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Dave, do you want to shout anything out?
I'm Rubin Report on the computer.
And Cocktown. Right. LukeandFilter.com is my website. 3 masterclasses, forum, members only shirt, and an in real life meetup this October 8th, 4 p.m. here in South Florida, only for members. LukeandFilter.com. Ian, give us some words of inspiration with your personal health journey.
Drink more water. Drink water when you wake up in the morning. And if you got to pee or poop, do it. Don't wait. Your body doesn't know. It just start to hurt if you don't do it. So let it out.
Good night, everybody.
See you later. It's been a pleasure hanging with you, Florida men.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
Serge, or I guess we'll just we'll wrap.
Splurge.
I don't know if you even have a mic set up.
Yep, I do. I was trying to mute because there's a lot of echo in here. Luke, you should work on that. Anyways, it was good. Appreciate meeting you, Dave. Thanks very much. It was
Right
fun.
on.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We will see you all over at timcast.com in a couple minutes. Thanks for hanging out.